Hello. This is the Geeky Gamer Podcast, brought to you by the Geeky Gamer Podcast. We wanted to thank several people for this spectacular show that we're about to do. All lowercase letters is doing this spectacular, majestic music. And a big old thank you to Mr. Interrupt as well. You can check those guys out on Spotify. You can check them out anywhere. Go anywhere and you can find them. Also, I want to thank the Patreon peoples. Hey, Patreon peoples. Thank you very much. That's Nostalgic, Natalia Cline. Got some Tim Roberts. Got some Daniel Holker. Thank you guys. If you want to join that, guess what? Go to patreon.com. Use your thumbs or your whatever it is, your mice.
Meese.
Go to patreon.com. Your meese. Help us out. Yeah, subscribe and all that good stuff. Today, we've got an interesting guest. We're going to have some interesting conversations. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Do I do that
really
now?
Quick? Yeah, why not?
All right. Well, my name is Jake Green. My name is Jake Green. I'm a filmmaker out of Georgia. I'm based in Atlanta, moving to Montana in the next year or so. And I own a production company that produces documentaries, podcasts, and soon to be narrative films. And that's
Nice.
what I'm about. Yeah.
And it's Jake Green.
Correct.
Jake, where can people find something that you make?
You can go to my website, peacefulsea.network. Peaceful C, S-E-A, not the letter C. I don't know why people get it confused, but people think Peaceful C is with a C and not S-E-A. Not an ocean.
That's interesting. Because when you said it, I thought C.
Yeah,
Like
everyone does, man. It's wild. I can't
that
explain
is a thing. That is a thing. Neither can I. I mean, I can't spell, so that might be.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
My issue.
And so it could be a couple of different things. It could be the letter C or C as in I see you.
Peaceful C.
True.
Peaceful C. It's a lot of things. Anyway, people should check that out if they would like to. All right. You got Ken. Ken, who are you? Who are you?
Anyway. I don't know. I used to be a journalist, and I'm a gamer. I'm a podcaster. I used to be a filmmaker. I used to be somebody. But
you used to be. I could have been.
I was a contender. I was a contender, and then I just
taken care of me.
Then I just decided let's do some podcasting. Let's just leave all that stuff behind. I almost cussed. I didn't cuss, but I wanted to.
I feel like I've cussed and only cussed the entire time we've been on.
I don't think
that's all I've been doing.
Did he cuss?
Did I cuss?
That's a good question. I
don't know. It's free flowing. I have no clue. I do see you have a Powerpuff Girls shirt, which is pretty cool.
I'm actually friends with one of the Powerpuff Girls. Do you know which one I'm actually friends with?
So Buttercup is the best one.
Yeah. So Buttercup, who is also who did she play? What famous other character did she play?
No idea.
She was Dottie on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Did I just blow your mind?
So I didn't really watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's honestly a little bit before my time. A little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it and being like, Pee-wee's. You mean the movie? I'm thinking Pee-wee's Playhouse.
No, not. Yeah, I mean, I don't think she was on Pee-wee's Playhouse. She might have been.
And it looked like this. That's all I remember. Large Marge.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. Well, I was a kid. I liked it, but I was kind of like, he's goofy. What is he doing?
Yeah, he's weird. I mean, my favorite stuff with him is like Cheech and Chong, like that world. Pee-wee was really, to me, the best. And was it Paul Rubens? Am I making that up?
Yeah. No, that's it.
Method. Is that a method actor? I mean, he impersoned or embodied that. He had a method.
A child? I guess he did.
He was.
So we're talking about Pee Wee Herman right now. Jake, save us.
Yeah, I have no interest in Pee Wee Herman. I thought he was weird. I never watched the show, so that was when I was very little. Like I was super young. We didn't watch much TV in my house, so till much later in life.
Yeah, something happened with him. There was some scandal thing that went down, and I think it had to do with showing himself to people.
No, he had a bunch of child porn on his computer, I guess.
No, did he really?
Yeah. It was something. He fell from grace pretty hard. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean that'll do it.
Talent.
Did he die recently? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, he died in 2023.
He did. He died relatively recently.
Well, I will find.
I wasn't necessarily friends with Paul Rubin. I was friends with Dottie.
Yeah. Cover your ass there.
Yeah. Wow.
His mugshot's not great. It's not great.
No. Pee-wee, what happened? How do we survive this? Yeah. Anyway, how do we talk? Oh yeah, because your shirt's cool. Your shirt's cool. You know, my shirt's pretty cool.
You're
got a skull on it.
I actually kind of feel like I'm doing something wrong here, because this is probably this is a registered trademark, and we could get flagged for this, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
I want to be flagged for that. You got flagged for the Powerpuff Girls? I'm okay with that. It's fine. So we're drinking various libations. Jake, we've already been over this, but we're gonna do it on stream. What are you drinking tonight or today?
I'm drinking an old fashioned, and I use Makers and a bourbon barrel aged maple syrup. That's the sweet.
That is interesting. If you don't mind me asking, what are your proportions?
I pour in about a teaspoon, in between a teaspoon and a tablespoon of maple syrup, and then about a shot and a half of Makers.
Yeah, right on.
With some orange bitters and a cherry.
And some bitters, yeah. Now, I'm going to go deep into this because I'm a bartender. What sort of cherries do you use?
Well, I had no options up here in Montana. Our store for my town is tiny and just doesn't carry anything. So
I thought cherries came from Montana. Continue.
I don't know. I don't remember which brand they are, but they're medium.
Are they bright red or are they dark?
They're darker. I didn't.
They're darker. Oh, good.
I didn't get the crappy maraschino ones.
Yeah, the bright red one. It's like red number 13 or whatever the hell it's called, and
yeah, it's basically just made to kill you. So.
It's not very good. Yeah, the darker ones are good, and the proper Italian maraschino cherries, and I think they're like 50 cents a pop, as in like a cherry.
Yeah. No, I generally have those from at home in Atlanta. They're pretty good.
Yeah. Well, Ken, what are you drinking tonight? I'm putting you to shame.
I'm drinking I guess it was a Mexican style lager from West 6 is Cerveza.
Yeah, West 6 is one of the breweries in Kentucky.
Yeah. Just living it up right here in Kentucky.
Oh yeah, baby. Not necessarily. I mean, you can drink Kentucky beer elsewhere.
Yeah. I don't know how far it goes. I mean, you could take Kentucky beer with you and go elsewhere. I
don't think you can. I don't think it's legal.
Yeah, it is.
I've got some Powers.
Nice.
Powers Irish whiskey.
That is.
And I'm not an island.
Yeah. There's lots of bourbon. You can go anywhere and get some Kentucky bourbon.
Well, true. I mean, I guess that depends on your definition of what is bourbon.
That it really does.
I think it's.
I've argued for a long time about this because, from my understanding, bourbon can only come from Kentucky.
I think that's correct.
A lot of Kentucky people would kill over that.
I believe it.
Yeah. Supposedly they relaxed, the law on it or precepts or whatever. I think it has to be limestone water.
Yeah.
At least. And I don't know. I was hanging out with one of my buddies. He's this British fella, and he was showing me around, and he was like, "Oh, check that bourbon out." And I was like, "Oh, that's not bourbon." And the bartender's like, "No, this is bourbon." He breaks out the bottle, and it's like this square bottle, and it's got this, the like nice sticker and artwork. He's like, no, it's on the bottle. It says bourbon. And I was like, nah, that ain't bourbon. He's like, why? And I was like, well, see, if your bottle has a big building, right, like in a city with like cars and shit and like industry and like, you know, electricity, that's not bourbon. Now, if it had like a water mill and, you know, like someone shooting someone else, then that's bourbon. Okay.
There's a certain amount of racism that goes into every
You need
bottle.
a little racist to get in that bourbon. It doesn't matter what kind of racism you can. You just can't help yourself. You can't. Son of a bitch. Where were we? That was the bourbon. It was bourbon. It was.
Yeah.
It was from Illinois, and I was like,
I mean,
Illinois,
I'm
bro.
originally from Texas, and so I think everything's better in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything's bigger.
There, you know, Garrison Brothers started making a bourbon, and I said this can't be bourbon, not made in Kentucky. So quit doing that and quit putting Texas behind this crap.
I'm getting a lot of ads for Texas whiskey on the internet. And when I look at the socials, they're like, Texas, we got this new whiskey. And I always comment, it's like, well, it's not bourbon.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whiskey's fine. Like, do you guys like Japanese whiskey? Like,
Yeah.
What is it?
My favorite whiskey is Thai whiskey.
Really? I've never had a Thai whiskey.
No, I've never. Is that a euphemism for something?
No, it is. You can't get it in America because it's illegal. Because they make it in a certain way that it's probably not like certified safe by any
What
means.
do they do?
I don't know.
Alcohol.
How do they make
I don't think alcohol's certified safe. Let's be real.
Thai whiskey? I have never heard. I mean, of
what
course.
is it?
Why
It's
wouldn't it be?
some sing some. I always got that mixed up. It's a
I have no idea.
some sang.
I know like
Sang
one
song.
word. I know one word in Thai. I can say thank you. That's it. That's all I got.
It's distilled from sugar cane. Sugar cane.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like a rum, not a whiskey.
Yeah, it's a spiced rum, but they call it Thai whiskey.
Okay, it's not whiskey then.
Right.
All of that to land on it's not whiskey.
It's true.
It's
It's
this
true.
whiskey here is made from agave.
I mean, what do you do?
I wonder though, because I just claimed conceitedly that I'm a bartender, and I actually don't know. I know if you distill something, you're pretty much making vodka, and then you have to do other things or use specific ingredients to make various sorts of, alcohols. Like pure grain alcohol is essentially vodka that hasn't been watered down. Gin is an infused vodka. Whiskey, it's got to have something to do with like corn or like wheat or something, like some proportion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe bourbon has to be at least 50% corn, I think.
That sounds right.
I didn't pass that test.
Been to a few distilleries in Kentucky, and they.
Yeah, where'd you go into Kentucky?
Went to Evan Williams. Went to Jim Beam.
All right. Okay.
Where else?
I like
go. Went to Makers. Yeah.
The higher level makers is pretty. It's all right.
It's fine. It's what I buy for my old fashions.
Sure.
Oh
yeah. No, if you're gonna put stuff in it, Makers, Jim Beam.
It's good for mixing. It's good for mixing.
It's great for mixing.
It's good for shooting and mixing, because it's a nice weeded. I think it's technically weeded. It's a little bit smoother. It's a little bit sweeter, and so it works so well in those kinds of drinks.
For sure.
But I love it.
I
just like the really spicy. Kind of overproof is not it. Like, have you ever had Knob Creek?
Yeah, I like Knob Creek.
What do you think of Knob Creek?
It's been a while since I had it. I've been on a Scotch run for the past 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What kind of Scotch are you into? Don't say Johnny Walker.
What? No, Johnny Walker's the bottom of my list. No, I like Lagavulin.
Come to our podcast where we will judge you about your bourbon.
People deserve to be judged about what alcohol they drink. Let's be honest. No, I love Lafroig. Lafroig's my everyday drink.
All right, you're a big boy. You're a big boy. You like
peaty smoky, like real peaty. Yeah. And Lagavulin is my. I've got all the bottles of Lagavulin, whatever they have.
I've never had it. Never had it, and honestly, I've never heard of it.
It's so good. Have you ever watched the show Parks and Rec?
I've watched YouTube clips because I'm a dude millennial, so I watch YouTube.
That made it famous.
Really?
One of the characters on there only drank Lagavulin whiskey, and that made it famous. But
now,
it's so good.
Now it's a Scotch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what kind of Scotch? Is it like? I'm assuming if it's peaty, it's a Lowlander and Islay.
Yeah.
Or Isla or whatever.
Isla, however you pronounce it. Yeah.
Yeah, I steer clear of those. I like the scotches that taste more like bourbon. I'm like, it's just like it's good. Yeah.
Fair enough.
This someone I dated many moons ago was into Scotch, and she turned me on to Dalmore or Dalmore. I'm not. Yep. I don't know how to pronounce it.
However you want. People say Lagavulin for Lagavulin, so I don't really.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. All those Scottish words are hard to pronounce.
I was in an Irish pub, which I never ever go to. I'm never at Irish pubs. Neither's Ken. And this guy, this ancient Irish guy, had like the hat with the ball on it, and had a pot of gold. Anyway, he was very drunk, and he was pointing. He was pointing with the big old man finger at this bottle of Redbreast, and I never heard of Redbreast whiskey, and I was like, oh man, that's some awesome Scotch. For years, telling people that my favorite Scotch after I had some was Redbreast.
Oh no!
Guess what is not Scotch?
Redbreast.
Cheers.
For
years was I led astray by myself.
Of course I have to drink beer on this episode. I really want some bourbon.
You said you have Castle and Key downstairs.
I do.
But which bourbon is it? Because honestly, while Castle and Key is fine and they do some good stuff around the neighborhood, not politics. Oh my God! Although they are political.
They are political.
They got a couple that are shit.
Political.
They do a lot of stuff for the community. Is what it is.
I know all about them.
Yeah.
They're fine. They're fine.
They're fine.
They're fine.
They have a couple bourbons that are not good.
Yeah, I got one of the first releases. So
is it Redemption Rye? That's not a bourbon. It's a rye.
I'd have to go get the bottle. I do have some Weller downstairs, but I think Allie would kill me if I started drinking.
Which Weller is it?
I think it might be a 12-year, but it was a big one. It might be.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a nice bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, go get it.
No. I mean, we have like this much left in the Weller.
You need a new Weller.
And then we have some Willet.
Jen needs a new bottle of Weller.
There we go.
We got some Willet. I have a full.
You have all the bourbon in the world. What are you doing?
Seriously.
I have a full bottle of Evan Williams right here, which is my favorite $15 bottle of bourbon.
Out here, it's $12 in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
really? That bottle is I know it's $12.
I'm upset about that.
And it's not bad.
It costs $3 more here.
That's weird. It's in the Johns. If you go to which Johns, I had no idea what the hell a Johns was.
It's like a Vons.
Right. I was like,
or
I
an
confused them for a long time.
An Albertsons. Have you been to Albertsons?
I don't know what that means.
That's a Texas thing.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have Albertsons in Texas? Oh, nice.
I've been to Whataburger.
What about Whataburger?
Whataburger's good. I dare say Whataburger might be better than In-N-Out
So it depends on what you want. There is that argument. So In-N-Out finally got to Texas like 5 years ago. And so then there was major clashing and people arguing about it all the time. But like, it depends on what you want, because the thing that makes In-N-Out special is their sauce. You know, it changes the whole taste of the burger. Whereas if you bought just a plain burger from both places, Whataburger is going to destroy In-N-Out.
Oh yeah. My brother and I, when we drove out here, my brother accompanied me, and which was good because I would have died. And we were going through from New Orleans, and we were going to stay with one of my buddies who's in Houston, who let us hang out at his place for a while. So we're in East Texas, and I'm like, hey man, it's like midnight. I'm like, hey man, we need to get some food. He's like, where are you? I was like, well, I don't know. There's trees, it's dark, and there's like sounds coming from the forest. And he said, you're in East Texas?
That's natural born killers area. Like you are in the heart of like all those towns. That's where they were.
Yeah.
Go. So I was like, well, where should we eat? And he was like, well, once you leave East Texas, go to Whataburger. And I was like, what's a Whataburger? We go there. You know, we order and all the things that you do. And this woman, she hands me the tray. We got 2 of the normal burgers. It's like the fries and the burger, right? She hands me the tray. And I try to take the tray with one hand. And I'm like, duh! Because the burgers are so heavy. Like they're like, oh, they're massive. Like it's like, ish. Then I come out to here, to LA, and I'm like, oh man, it's been a long time, like 20 years since I've been to In-N-Out. I go with my girlfriend to In-N-Out, and she's like, oh yeah, check this out. And I get it. I'm like,
it's very small.
Yeah, it's very small. It's more bread than burger.
It was good. Because you got it. We got it animal style.
Yes. Animal style is the best. I get animal style fries every time. Yeah.
It's all right.
You got to get a 10. If you go to In-N-Out, you got to get at least a triple.
Triple.
Yeah, my buddy he's psychotic. He used to always get a 10 by 10, which is 10 patties.
What's a 10 by 10?
Pieces of cheese.
What?
Yeah.
God. All right, well, maybe In-N-Out's awesome. I don't know.
My favorite was
Geeky Gamer Podcast.
There's a place called Good Stuff in LA, which you got to check out. And I like the Astro. I like the Astro Burger. It's really good.
That is good.
Hey, this is Astro Burger. I mean, it sounds like Astro Burger doesn't sound like. It's like they wrote it down and they're like Astro Burger. That's what we're gonna call it. They said it.
They were probably pretty high when they wrote it down. I'm guessing.
Something wrong with this. I don't know what it is.
They were in outer space. They were astronauts.
It'll have a logo. It'd be a rocket ship. Astro. Wait a minute. This is.
Oh, what's the other one? There's another one, a burger place. They got them everywhere in Hollywood.
Jack in the Box?
Yeah. No, I'm not eating there.
Nah.
So yeah, no one outside of the West will eat there. And why? Tell me why.
They shut down.
You can get better burgers everywhere.
Well, they also got into a lot of trouble, like making people sick.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
On the East Coast,
man. Back in the 90s, I'm pretty sure it was the 90s. There's this huge thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's Jack in the Box and E. coli. That's how I know the word E. coli.
Oh, interesting.
From Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
I come out here, and people are like, you want to go to Jack in the Box? And I'm like, what? What? What do you mean? I saw a commercial, and then I don't get the lettuce. I would like the burger with no lettuce. I don't think we've had a single GGP episode that has been this vapid in the conversation.
Yeah, but you know, when you are gaming, it's important to eat food and drink alcohol. It doesn't matter the game if you don't have libations and you know, hangry is a real thing. Like games break up because people get pissed and can't control their shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we've been on for 20 minutes. So
we've been cursing the whole time.
Have we? I haven't.
Nick, do you play any games? Video games, tabletop, board games, live games?
My friends and I play tons of board games. I play 2 or 3 video games. So I play FIFA. I like FIFA. That's just mind numbing.
What's it?
FIFA.
Soccer.
Oh, FIFA. Oh, yeah. I think they said FIFA.
No. I will play Call of Duty if I am in front of a console, but I have 2 consoles. One is a PS2,
nice.
And one is a Nintendo Switch.
The Switch. I know very, very little about the Nintendo Switch. I know everything I know from it from my brother, and his children have a Switch.
There we go. Sorry, I'm on Starlink internet up here.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of freaking nowhere, Montana.
Yep.
And so Starlink goes out, once every 45 minutes or so for about 7 seconds. So if I pause, that's why.
It's fun to watch. It's all those little dots just going across the screen. When I was in Utah, there were some people, I think they were from Boston, and they were like, they saw, the satellites go across. They're like, what the hell is that? They thought they were being invaded by.
You can see them launch up here. You can see them launch straight up, and then they'll just start flying over. It's amazing.
That's wild. So Starlink, it's who owns Starlink?
It's
Elon Musk.
That's a Musk thing. And is it pretty good internet, or is it just sort of intermittent,
fantastic.
or what?
No, it's fantastic. Like if you have the only reason that it goes out here every so often is because I'm staying in somebody else's house and they didn't mount it where it gets perfect vision of the sky.
I see.
You got line of sight all the time is what you need.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
but,
my uncle has Starlink, and he is in South Carolina, and he's
it got to South Carolina, huh?
He's in the woods, and like it doesn't really work because there are 50-foot tall trees all around his house, and he's not.
Yep. Yeah, they just came out with an awesome one. They made it where it's basically the size of a laptop, and all it takes is I think like 3 amps of power.
Wow!
And you just plug it in, and the router's inside the thing, and you can just carry it with you wherever you go. It's amazing.
Wow.
Do you know the data rate? Have you run a speed test on that?
Yeah, it's last time I did a speed test, it was 150 megs per second.
Nice
download.
I mean, it's not bad.
Not bad at all.
15 upload, 20 upload. So
that's not bad.
It's good enough.
Yeah,
it's good enough to stream.
Yeah, it's good enough to stream. One stream or 2.
We need to get Andrea on that.
Yeah,
one of our cast members is in the boonies of Kentucky, and she's often using just her cell phone plan, which is okay. But yeah, she had a Starlink
Mini. That's the one. That's the one to do because you can travel with it. Wow. It's $50 a month. It's amazing.
And you just go wherever you want.
Go wherever you want.
Sweet. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Call of Duty, and you do consoles. You don't do Call of Duty PC. I didn't know Call of Duty was on console. Because I don't play video games.
I didn't know it was on. I didn't know it was on PC. I don't even have a PC. I only have Mac stuff, which I know you don't care for. But
no, all I have are Macs.
I think we're both Mac people. I mean, it's.
I hate them. But yeah, that's all I have. I haven't bought one of them. I steal them.
Okay. Yeah. No, I used to do that too. Yeah.
No, what will happen?
I legit went to jail for that.
Oh no!
Really? No, we're gonna touch base with that. No, basically I have a friend, and they're gonna get a new Mac, and they'll have like a 5-year-old Mac, and they're like, "Hey, I don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want it? You hate these?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I have like a 10-year-old Mac, and all used stuff. But
free is free.
Yeah. It's better than Windows. Yeah,
Unix based. Is it still Unix based?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stand the
let's go to
ads.
jail for it.
Yeah, let's go back to that. and did you play games when you were in jail?
I was only in jail for about 18 hours. And I got bailed out and then went through the whole court process, which was unpleasant.
Sure.
But yeah, after college or after high school, I dropped out of college, and me and my roommate couldn't afford rent. And so we started thieving from places like Walmart and Target, just all the big department stores. And we got really good at it. Eventually, one night, I'd finished watching season 3 of Seinfeld on DVD and wanted season 4. And so I went to Walmart and they caught me. And so I only got, you go to jail in Texas for anything over $50 that you steal. And mine totaled $51.12.
Oh no.
So went to jail overnight. Got threatened by some people in jail. Had to give a guy my shirt. This huge dude came over and was like, "I'm cold. Give me your shirt." And so I was like, "Please take my shirt." And had to make the worst phone call of my life, which was calling my mom to tell her that I need to be bailed out of jail.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you were young. You did your time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did probation, and now you talk about it.
It's not on my record anymore, so it's all good.
And you don't do it now. That's not your thing. You're a filmmaker now, and
I did it one time since. I did it the day I got out. I was like, I'm doing it again just to prove that I could do it. And I got caught again.
Oh,
and
no.
they just said, "You're banned from the store. We're not pressing charges." And then I was like, "That's it. I'm done."
Okay. Yeah. I worked at Best Buy, and we would catch people occasionally.
Yep. That's where I got caught.
Where Best Buy really excels in catching you is if you work there. Because that's where most
went to jail if you did.
That's where most of the thefts. I never stole any. I mean, I never stole anything from Best Buy. I'm not. It's not my thing. Anyway, I guess employees, it was kind of a racket. You know, they would put things in things or reprice things, and I think retail, you know, especially higher range retail has that stuff. Yeah. But they were always caught.
Well, you know, they're learning from the best. I mean, you know, we're not getting political, Ken. We're not getting political, Ken. Stop it.
My favorite Best Buy theft experiences, there were maybe 10 of us. We were all clocked out. We were waiting by the door because, you know, the LP officer has to like unlock the door, and like
what's an LP?
Loss prevention.
Oh, loss prevention. That is loss prevention. Okay.
Who just happened to be my roommate at the time. So but anyway, a guy, never would expect this guy to steal anything. He had some RAM like in his pocket. He worked like in the geek area or whatever, installing RAM all the time. He didn't take the security thing off. They still had to. It's like, why didn't he do it? I mean, I kind of believed him a little bit, like, oh, he forgot, but he was still fired. I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you work there, I think the first thing you do is take off that thing.
Yeah,
you know how it works.
So I mean, I kind of believed that it was an accident. Like, I mean, I was a teenager at the time, but you know, he did kind of try to bolt after it went off. So that was his.
That's a little damning.
That was his.
I mean, did he get far? I mean,
no, there were 10 other employees, including the loss prevention.
What did you help? Did you guys stop him?
I mean, I didn't touch him. I'm not gonna. You know, if I ever worked, I worked retail in Los Angeles. I worked at Radio Shack. We were robbed at gunpoint, and
you don't want any of that.
I was busy watching Home Movies, the cartoon, when they came in and robbed us, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and watch this. I think some shit's going down over there, but
it's not worth literally any of that.
No, it's not.
It's not. Although, as I say that, every job I've worked, I've been like, you know, I'm gonna do the best. I'm gonna mop this shit out of this floor. I'm gonna do so good. You know, someone's watching. This is worth it. Work ethic, right? It's the curse.
Not minimum wage in LA. No. I didn't care.
Work.
I did not care. I gave everybody my business card, and that's how I got my break. Honestly, it's because I gave every asshole that came in there buying a phone or whatever. I was like, I'm a filmmaker, and so like that's how I got a break and got my first viral video.
Good for you.
For a song called "The Fuck Song." So how could it not go viral? It was like a female version of Marilyn Manson, so it was good. It was.
Someone's like, "Hey, should we call this guy or this dude?" Well, this dude, he could get us a discount at Radio Shack. Let's call this guy.
I sold her a phone. I thought she was the meth head, but I was like, all right, I believe you. She did some drugs, but she's super cool. Okay. Super cool. I don't think she did meth. She wound up marrying like Hollywood royalty. It's a crazy story.
Right.
It's a kid stays in the picture kind of story. Love story.
Yeah. Ken was out here for I think 25 minutes.
Yeah. Maybe 30.
He was out here for a long time, yeah?
It was less than 15 years. I say 15 years, but it was not that long.
Yeah. Jake, so you're from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, you're in Montana. I don't think we've actually answered that yet.
I'm building a house up here. My wife and I are building a house. So we bought land up here in 2020, and we're literally building it ourselves.
What's the price like up there?
Price of what?
Land.
So we got ours at a steal because a guy needed money for medical payments. So we got $1,000 an acre.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many acres? If you don't mind.
About 120 acres.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we bought a mountain basically. So we're building on a mountain at the moment, and it's awesome. I love it.
This is posterity, baby. I understand.
You don't worry about the neighbors.
We have one neighbor that is annoying, but he likes to keep to himself, so that's pretty great.
He's also 100 acres away.
That's very true.
Down a mountain. Fuck yeah.
As long as you have the high ground, I think you're probably fine.
That's right.
We have the high ground, and he's 80 years old, so I think we'll be okay.
I don't know though. Montana people.
Yeah.
I don't know how long they live. It could be like 3,000 years old. You know?
Yeah,
he doesn't look 80.
My grandfather was 95. Like he's Kentucky through and through. Like I would not have fucked with him at 95. He was like, so yeah, no, like the older you get, like you get that old tough.
Yeah, yeah. He's got that old tough. He's trying to fence in his 40 acres of property on a mountain, and he's 80 years old.
I mean, he gives no fucks. He gives no fucks. He gives no fucks.
Yeah.
He's like, it's okay if I don't finish.
He won't finish.
Who cares? Well, yeah, older people, when they're tough like that, it's not that they can take a hit, right? They usually can't. It's just that they shoot first.
And ask questions like
and quickly. Right?
Yeah. No,
like,
there were like 2 guns in my grandfather's truck.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's from Kentucky.
Yeah, you don't mess with him.
Yeah. And like a hunting bow and just...
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that taught me how to shoot. Like, I think I wasn't 10 yet. I mean, I was like 6, 7 years old. They're like, point in goes that way. Don't point it at people. Don't stick it in the ground. That's bad.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually one thing that I and now we're talking about guns, which none of us have a problem with.
I don't like it when they when people like who are mean or bad shoot other people unprovoked for no reason. That's I feel like that's the part about guns. It's like it gives a lot of power to like an idiot. But
I'm perfectly fine.
Bill, do you have a retort? Are you on the other side of the
listen, I could play devil's advocate all day because depending on who they're shooting. Anyway, before my father died, I wanted him to show me how to shoot a gun. And I mean, I learned how to do it. One of my friends at that time, who's no longer a friend, actually taught me how to shoot. But I remember telling my dad, I was like, that's like a quintessential moment, right? I mean, in like, I don't know, movies or something. It's like, yeah, when you get better. And he's like, yeah, when I get better. So I didn't get that, unfortunately.
My dad is still alive, and he never. I don't know if he has he might have a gun. I don't think he wants me to know if he has a gun or not.
It's because he's an old guy who's tough, right? You're never gonna know. Jake, I am going to ask this question: who taught you how to shoot?
My granddad and my uncle taught me how to shoot. Yeah, we most of my family is from Mississippi, backwoods Mississippi. My cousin is one of the best maybe hunters in the United States. He's a hunting guide now because he's so freaking good. So yeah, I grew up with those folks, and they taught me how to shoot. And up here, you have to walk around with a 10 millimeter or 45 on at all times.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got a grizzly who lives on our property. Yeah.
I was gonna say, what kind of wildlife is out and about?
We've caught grizzlies on our cameras, moose, which are actually the scariest. Moose are like the worst.
Big animal.
They're like they're so much bigger than you think they are.
That's
like photos don't like. If you see a photo of a moose, it's nothing. It just looks like a bigger deer. But then when you put a person next to it, it's like twice the height of the person.
And they're apparently kind of aggressive, right?
They're extremely mean. They get ticked off for no reason whatsoever. And so, yeah, we try to steer clear of those guys. We get we get a couple of wolves, some coyotes, grizzlies, brown bear, black bear. But so far, only one bad encounter. A mountain lion tried to catch my dog.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, came sprinting up out of the bushes.
Sure.
And was about 25 feet away from me, and I grabbed the rifle and pointed it, and my dumb dog stuck her head up in between me and the mountain lion. And then mountain lion saw me and took off. So fortunately, it was a happy ending.
Well, it's good that happened, and that I mean, I don't like killing at all. Of course, if you have to, you have to, but I think it's kind of cool. This is a stupid statement, but I'm going to say it. I think it's kind of cool that the mountain lion was like, a gun, and ran away. A person,
it stopped dead in its tracks when it saw me and my friend.
So this goes to that question. It's mildly political. Would you rather run into a person or a bear in the woods?
That is the most ridiculous. Dude, that whole trend was so stupid.
Oh, is that a trend?
Yeah, I've run into both.
I thought it was just a normal. How the hell did I miss that? What is it? Answer the question and then tell me what this is about.
100% a person, but the trend was people were going on the street asking women, would they rather run into a bear or a man in the woods? And they're saying, well, men are terrible, so a bear, 100%. And it's like, no, you wouldn't.
I see. But if you were to answer this question, you would rather run into a person than...
100%, yeah, without a doubt.
Okay. Yeah. Ken, what were you saying?
I've run into a lot of people with no issues. I mean, I'm not a big fan of drunk people. And drunk people with music things, like you're out camping or something and they got their things going and they're being loud. You're out in the woods to get away from the city, to just kind of be away. I would rather a black bear, or probably not a grizzly bear, because the black bear is just going to run away. I mean, we've had them scratch at our tent for them a little bit, and it's kind of disturbing. They leave their big shits nearby the tent, mark their territory and stuff. But not a whole lot of worry in there. And on the East Coast, not Montana, there's nothing that scary here. So
it's true. That's true.
I don't know. I'm not I like the outdoors. But I am a vampire. Okay, I don't really go outside. So I don't know. I would like to talk to. I would talk to someone who knows, hey, how to survive a weekend or a week in the wilderness, and be like, so what would you rather do? And that would be my answer. What's the? But if I'm just going off of my own thought, I'd much rather have a wild animal than a human.
Well, 9 out of 10 times they're just going to run away. I mean, unless it's a grizzly or a moose.
I don't know. I just like there's no malice there. I don't trust. Is it a stranger that you're meeting? If it's a stranger, then I don't know. And maybe the situation as well.
Sure.
Well, it depends on your outlook on life. Like, do you think more people are out there trying to get you, or do you think more people are out there trying to do good and be okay? I think the latter.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, I think that there is I think you make a good point, but I think the result of that statement does make sense, but the question has a little bit of a logical fallacy.
Okay.
Right? Which is the question being, do I think that there's a majority of people out in the world who are trying to do good and just do their own thing, or do I think that a majority of people are out there trying to get me? Well, let's say I choose that a majority of people are doing good in the world. When I meet this person in the woods, depending on the situation, it doesn't matter. If we're starving and it's a zombie apocalypse, just to make it extreme, I mean, maybe they're gonna, do good in the world, maybe in that situation.
You can't say zombie apocalypse. That's ridiculous. Because obviously I wouldn't want to encounter a human during a zombie apocalypse.
No, absolutely not.
Right. That's why I said, but a situation actually
it doesn't have to be a zombie apocalypse. I mean, I go camping in Tennessee quite a bit, and some very people are local, and the local people do not want people to camp there, so they show themselves. That's a thing where they take their vehicles. I mean, I've been in campsites where people have shot shotguns off over the area,
buckshot for sure.
Where they, they've got ATVs. I've yet to get shot at. I've been shot
That's Kentucky, and in eastern Kentucky.
The closest I've ever been shot at was in LA, and that was because I was driving near a Suge Knight concert where they were just opening down, and I ran a red light. It was the first time I ran a red light in LA. But
you were in LA and you only ran one red light. It's just kind of what you do out here.
No, it was the first, and it was at the Hard Rock Cafe in the Beverly Center. So it was in the middle of Beverly Hills where this went down. But I mean, that was the closest that I think I've ever been where people are shot. That being said, there was a kid that was killed 6 houses down at my house,
in Beverly Hills.
No, wow. Here in Kentucky, because
I was gonna say
kids. Sure. They're impressionable. Well, they get that machismo.
Jake, this is what I mean. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that I'm just adding to what you're saying. It's not that I think people are inherently bad. In fact, I do agree with you. I think this is what you're saying. I think inherently people are just trying to live their lives and be happy. They're trying to do their normal thing, and that's generally a good thing. In D&D terms, I think that everybody's neutral good, most people. The reason that I lean more towards wanting to meet something other than a human in the woods, and this is prefaced with, it depends on the situation.
Right.
Is because I don't trust humans, and because I am a human, right? And I generally care about other people, and I don't like to cause pain. I don't like to do these things, and yet I still do, because humans are inherently we're animals. We're very intelligent. We're very capable of rationalizing, and when we rationalize stuff, and when we think we know the truth, we're capable of doing a great, great amount of evil. A bear is going to attack you if it's hungry,
Or if you get between it and its cubs.
Or if you get between it, if you fuck up, I think otherwise, granted, I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. Maybe like a ranger would be like, dude, you want to meet a person. You don't want to meet a bear in the woods. I don't know. Just if I'm going to go through the thought experiment, it's not that I have a bad look on humanity. It's just I respect the potential of humans to be very, very great and very, very not great.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's it.
But
that's it.
You don't hear. Well, maybe I don't know. I really don't know any stats on this. So I wonder if anybody did the research. Everybody did the punditry. Everybody we were all like, we're all puking out our assholes and mouths like of.
Let me get ChatGPT. Hold
on. just two, but like, did anybody Google
in Yellowstone or not Yellowstone? We went to Alaska.
Yeah.
And what is it?
Yeah.
It's not Mount McKinley. It's what's it called now? Fuck. It's the name of the big mountain. It's blown. It's not Mount McKinley anymore. It's something else.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Alaska, Montana.
It's a big. No. It's in Alaska.
No, I mean, I don't. I would choose a human over anything else.
Oh.
Yeah.
When we go to this national park, the ranger was like, "Hey, so if you see the black bear, get big, scream at it, fight it off. If it attacks, hit it in the face. If it's a brown bear," he said, "so you have a choice. You play dead, and hopefully you don't die." He's like, "That's it. If you run, it's going to catch you because it can run 30 some odd mile an hour uphill both ways, right? Has laser beams out of its eyes and like fucking fireballs from its ass. And you just can't match it."
Yep.
He was like, the best thing about a brown bear is it can hit you and you'll die, whereas a black bear will eat you alive or something. And I was like, "Flah." So
a brown bear will pin you down and just start eating you alive. It's wild.
So that's a brown bear. That's a brown bear.
Yeah. I think the saying is if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down.
Wow.
Yeah. Either way, I think
maybe humans better in the woods.
I've run across some black bears, and I think the black bear was pretty much like, "Oh, you're here," because we were just off. We were way off out. It was like climbing up a tree. It was going to get the little honey pot at the top or whatever.
Yeah, it was.
and it like it froze there, and it like peeked its little head. It's like, "Oh fuck, humans!" And it's like, "I'm out." I mean,
then it had a conversation with the other bears.
Yeah,
so if you're in the woods, would you rather?
There's that hike where we ran across, I think, 2 rattlesnakes. That was like,
fuck that.
You know, I don't know how my girlfriend has. She's like got rattlesnake spotter. Like she's got the vision for it, because I would have stepped and fucking gotten.
Well, it's women. They're smarter than us. They know how to survive. I'm actually kind of serious. They need to. They need to. Guys are like, "Let's go into the woods. Don't worry about the boots. Wear shorts."
100%.
Just brave. Just have a gun. It's cool. Would you rather meet a snake or a human in the
woods? Most snakes are great. They're very docile.
I would rather meet a human.
It depends on the snake. No, we have a bull snake under our house up here.
What's a bull snake?
It just eats rodents and stuff. It'll hurt if it bites you, but it doesn't have venom.
Yeah, I dig that. Non-venom snakes. Yeah. Non-venom spiders. This is where I'm at. I'm cool with spiders. I don't like them, but I'm cool with them. I'll be like, "Namaste, spider."
Spiders chill out. Great.
My roommate was like, "Yeah, I saw 2 black widows."
Oh, for sure.
And
for sure.
I was like, "Oh, where?" And he was like, "In the living room." I was like,
"Yeah."
What? What do you mean?
We have all these rocks in our front yard. Lots of black widows under the rocks.
Yeah, but they're in the front yard.
Yeah.
don't lift up the rocks.
Yeah.
Like they're hanging out like.
We also have lots of snakes. The snakes are great. It gets rid of the rodents.
Yes, that's the benefit.
So Jake, you moved to Montana. You absconded from your native roots of Texas.
Are you going to make some films? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's actually literally where I was going with it.
Are you going to make some films in Montana?
I eventually will. I just got, not to make it political, but it's kind of natural.
It's kind of your shtick.
I got recruited or asked, I guess, into producing a podcast for the Libertarian Party up here about a cop shooting where a cop basically murdered a civilian. And then not only did he not get charged with anything, but they awarded him the Purple Heart, which is...
I thought you had to be in the military for that.
It's okay. So it's called the Law Enforcement Purple Heart to distinguish it.
Oh, okay.
It's idiotic. And the entire case, the guy went there looking to, like the cop went there looking to start.
Well, this is definitely political.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Politics. It's not that I'm against politics. I mean, we argue, or when I say argue, I mean the old way of argue. Or at least try to debate, and that kind of stuff. I'm not opposed to those kinds of political conversations. Arguing political conclusions. It's kind of like arguing religion with someone who is religious. And when I say religious, I don't mean necessarily an organized religion. I mean religious about something, right? So perhaps it's being an atheist, or perhaps it's about being, everyone should never eat meat again or something. Whatever it is that they're...
Absolutism.
The thing is, the conclusion is foregone. Yeah, absolutism. The conclusion is foregone, so there's no conversation. There is, hey, sharing an idea, but it's just an idea.
Yeah,
but we do get political in our games. I mean, because I'll slight something. I'll just kind of jump it in there, and so will Bill. We're ideologically different. But we also agree. We also agree on quite a bit of shit too. So it's just
you're describing humanity.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so, my best friend for the longest time, he's hardcore libertarian. Like we argue about a lot of shit, but also like we agree on a lot of shit. So I feel like that's fair.
Well, and you respect each other, which is.
Yeah. And there's boundaries for sure. Like you can always say this is a little too much, or like I don't want to go in this direction. I think a cop, a police officer shooting.
I'm gonna get some more water. I'll leave you guys to
somebody on purpose. It's something that happens maybe often in a role-playing game, and so having the ability to communicate, or a podcast, having the ability to communicate and draw that out, like theoretically, is certainly something that we face in our society. Being able to deal with the repercussions of that and the things that go on. Certainly, if we weren't allowed to talk about that stuff, we'd be fucked.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. That's completely correct. Which is, we're just going to keep going down the political rabbit hole here, because my YouTube channel gets strikes pretty regularly.
I'm sure, yeah.
We're in jeopardy of being kicked off YouTube every month.
I believe you.
Which is why we start streaming on Rumble. And like the whole idea that you can't say things that somebody else disagrees with, or else you're going to get banned or censored or whatever. I think that is completely anti-human, and like just doesn't help anything. Like dialogue is what keeps us from fighting physically.
But I think, I'm just going on a limb here. I think I know why. I mean, I looked at your YouTube channels. I looked at all of your socials, and we don't agree on a lot of things, but we do agree on some things. I'm definitely more progressive. Bill is more conservative. but I guess I'm Kentucky progressive, so I don't know what that means. But anyway, it is the guise in which it is said. It is the absolutism that you might run into some issue, whereas we can have those same conversations in a role-playing game and not have content strikes. That's interesting. It's the way it's done. I mean, if we were streaming on Twitch, I couldn't say certain words, but because we're streaming on YouTube and we're not talking about the pandemic, you know, and anytime you talk about that, it's kind of like, all right, because we would get content strikes on a liberal, progressive podcast just because we were talking about it. And we were talking about Rand Paul, which I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about. I have a very negative outlook on him, and I'm sure that you might disagree with me. I mean, so
probably,
but I mean, I live with him in Kentucky. Like he's my he's my representative. So, but I don't disagree with everything he says. I mean, I do think that he makes a lot of arguments that I can agree with certain parts of it, but he doesn't make it in a way that comes from a place that I can like the end result might be okay. I kind of agree with that, but like the actual steps that he gets to get there, it's difficult for me. And I'm not being specific on purpose because I don't want to dive down into that world.
No, I think like subtlety and like being able to agree with somebody on part of something and say it publicly, and disagree with them on something and say it publicly. Like I think both of those things are important because you have to have leniency for people, and like people have to get to a certain point. Like everybody changes over time, and you can't expect everyone to just agree with you all the time about everything. And so I don't know. I think the whole idea of like the loss of subtlety, the loss of I like some of what he says and not a lot of what he says, I think has gone like it has left the zeitgeist over the past 10 years. I don't think you're allowed to just barely like agree with parts of what people say.
That's that
and not be considered that thing fully, which is very frustrating.
He's pretty quiet. I mean, he likes to be in the news. He kind of found his world there where he considers himself an expert, and that's. I mean, I work. I'm not a doctor, but I work outside in the medical field-ish. So I understand studies. I read a lot of studies. I was working on some journals today. I actually have content that is published in medical journals, even though I'm not a doctor. Like,
there we go.
Peripheral. It's because I work with an expert. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
And so like I get what he's saying about certain things, but when he says some stuff, I'm like, okay, no, that's just crazy.
Are you guys talking about me again?
Yep.
Yeah, the whole time, actually.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
You know,
the political stuff was just a guise. We were just wanting to get you out of the room so we could talk about you.
But I think when people are ideologically different, especially at our level, you know, we should be able to communicate in a back and forth on subject matter where we understand the ground. So I really enjoy the way we've eased into this conversation because we identified with beer and alcohol and food and you know, survival. That really is important.
So I shall throw a wrench, and maybe it's in the gears, maybe it's not. To a degree, from what I heard, Jake, you say about YouTube and Rumble and the copyright strikes, I'm torn a little bit because on the one hand, I think censorship is some bullshit. Like it irks me a lot that, I mean, we'll have a YouTube video that will use one of our music. Okay, like we literally, like Ken owns his music.
Sure.
And we'll get a
I own
copyright
the
strike.
music, and we got a copyright strike.
That's wild.
And I
Because
can't.
it's all automated.
I can't.
It's automated. There's no brain.
There's nothing I could do about it. There's no so I just don't use that music anymore.
Right. Yeah. So there's no brain.
Automation. Yeah. And
so when you have a Pharisee style, probably the wrong word, but a system that is so absolute.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, you cannot say these words.
Yeah.
Because that protects people. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but
that's it.
And this is the fine line of at what point do you go over into fascism? You know, you censor people for their protection. Well, you can start getting into fascism. Well, let's say you go the opposite way and you just open it all up. Well, you're going a very different direction. You're going into anarchy, which there is an idea there.
But chaos is great in Montana. I have to say, like, if you're going to be chaotic anywhere in the United States, the great western massive states with very, very small population, I think there is a lawlessness and a chaos that really works. You can't be chaotic in New York.
I'm going to disagree. I think it's literally the opposite of what you just said.
Okay.
And granted, I never lived in Montana, but I can say this. There's an idea of morality. Okay,
yeah.
So
I'm with you.
With religion, people, not to diss religious people,
I love dissing religious people
that are seriously into religion, they have said things like, well, if there's no God, for example, then there can be no morality. And it's pretty well proven that when you have a society, a nominal morality arises because people want to exist. And we realize working together is better than not working together. So I'm going to go out on a limb. Jake, tell me what you think.
Okay.
When you're in the boonies and there's just a few people around, yes, kind of anything goes. And at the same time, there are rules. When you're in Los Angeles, there's a lot of rules. And it's fucking bedlam.
But anything goes if you have a lot of money in Los Angeles. I mean, that's
exactly my point. So that's exactly my point. So you have these rules where you can't do this, you can't say this, you can't. And if you look that way,
yeah.
And yet you just walk down the street, and no one is following the most basic rules of stop at the stoplight.
Yeah.
Like that will kill someone.
Sure.
That does kill people.
It kills people
all the time. It wrecks people's lives, not just because of injury, but because of money. If I get into a wreck, I am fucked because of the money.
Yeah.
These are the smallest rules. People can't. Why? Because there's not a cop there, and there are cops everywhere, and they don't. That's
I would argue it's not because there's not a cop there. I would argue it's because everybody's only looking out for themselves because they're all crammed into a space that requires them to look out for themselves when no one else, there's not an actual community.
There's a system
for them. Yeah.
I agree with you. So what do you think about Montana? Is it the same way out there, like in the wild, or tell us the situation.
So we live on a dirt path, okay, that we maintain ourselves. There's no government out here. There's nearest sheriff is 45 minutes away. So in general, people are very civil with each other. There isn't much. I'm not going to consider drug crime to be crime because I don't think drugs should be illegal. But there isn't much actual crime out here, like violent crime. Right. People generally respect people's property, people's privacy. There are occasional. Why? Because most people out here want that solitude and want that privacy, and so they understand it.
They actually respect that.
Yeah, because out here you get what you give, and if you are causing problems, you're going to receive a lot of problems as well. And it's a small community. I mean, there's like 15 properties down our path, and it's like a 3-mile long path, and so like people move out here specifically to live this kind of lifestyle and understand each other and the mindset that it took to come out here and respect the fact that it's not easy. You can't you can't just go into town and get a cup of coffee. You can't go and like drive 10 minutes and go to a doctor. Like it's going to take you an hour to get to a hospital. And so like people respect and understand what it takes to live out here. And so no one does anything drastic most of the time. Obviously, there are going to be crazies. We live next to one of the crazies, unfortunately. He's relatively harmless, and he definitely will never trespass. He's made that very clear. Like he could have trespassed a ton of times, and he never did. He himself has a code kind of thing. Yeah, he does have a code. It's a weird code, but he's got a code. And you just kind of got to feel it out. You got to feel it. You got to be neighborly. You got to talk to people a lot. And I feel like that doesn't happen as much when you're surrounded by thousands and thousands and thousands of people. You feel like a tiny little cog.
What you just said is actually it inspired a thought. Because coming out here, I've lived in some pretty big cities in my time. I lived in Beijing for 4 years. So Beijing's pretty large. Yeah. And there's a lot more people. Although it's a different kind of big. LA is its own animal. I've been to Chicago, I've been to New York, I've been to Cleveland, Atlanta. And they're all different. it's a different animal. What you just said was interesting. I've been struggling with how to compute this place. You feel it out. You feel it out. You don't talk to people because you know that neighbor who's 20 feet away. We say neighbor, which gives us a sense of like being neighborly, like it's a positive thing. That is simply a stranger who is next to you. And here you don't have the expectation that people are going to care. Right? Like at the stoplight, if someone does something, it's best to just not react. Because if you do, you're kind of breaking the code. Like we're a bunch of rats scrambling around on each other. Like, so that's the situation. So when you're like, fuck off, you're actually causing problems. Yeah. That's an interesting thought. I'm not saying it's that way. So I'm actually working it out as I speak. It's interesting.
I think everybody's different. Like you and I might not talk to the car next to us, but my friend, my musician friend, Bill knows him. He's won a couple of Grammys. We would go around. We would go around downtown Los Angeles, and he would roll his window down. He'd roll his window down. He'd start talking to the people at the car next to it, and they'd have this great conversation. And it was just in it. Situation. And like he goes from person to person, and he's out there talking to people. I kind of learned that from him. Like I will talk to somebody at the bar sitting alone for fun. Because I enjoy talking to random people, and every time I reach out across that line, I benefit from it, because it doesn't matter if they're conservative or liberal or older or younger. Usually, I have to say that there is a cutoff. Like I don't talk to a lot of younger women, because usually when I start talking to them, they look at me like I'm insane, because there's a stigma about like older bald dudes, I guess, talking to like. But I mean, maybe that's just me inferring some kind of. I know. I'm killing.
You also look like the guy from House of Cards who murdered that girl. So
yeah. So I mean, it's like maybe it's a thing where I wear my heart on the sleeve, and my conversations are not like, hey baby, because I'm in a very happy relationship. I'm in a very happy relationship for the last 8 years of my life.
Where you going? Whee! I'm gonna call you out, Ken.
That's me.
I'm gonna call you out. I understand what you're saying. Reaching out to people's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, who is this person? Or if you don't want to out the person, although I think that they would not mind being outed whatsoever. What kind of person are they?
My friend, he's the band. His name is Xavier. He's the band leader of a band called Fantastic Negrito. It's like a blues.
So he's this cool-looking, like
world traveling,
African American dude with like
black dude.
He's got this cool hair, and he's like hanging out, and he's got the vibe. It's a little bit different than gangly white dude who's like, "Hey, man."
Yeah, but I mean, that's you don't just
come
walk
on.
Up. Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot going on there.
But every single D&D game starts at the bar. How do you know that they're not on your team? Like, you're not supposed to go adventuring with this person.
That's a clip right there. That's good. Jake, please talk. We're dominating. Continue. What do you think about anything we just said?
Anything you just said? Oh man. I lived in LA for 4 years.
Okay.
I lived in Van Nuys and Valley.
Hey.
Yeah. Had a little studio apartment in Van Nuys. Got to drive my motorcycle directly into the living room. It was the best stuff I've ever had. It was amazing. For me, I just felt like I couldn't find my community there. Like I couldn't find.
Sure.
I had my best friend lived there and still lives there, but outside of him, everyone is just working so hard and such long hours to exist and to just for like those 1 hour a day fight for their dream. They're trying to survive for 23 hours, and for 1 hour a day, they're
exploitive.
Yes. And I found it exhausting, which is why I left. I decided this wasn't for me.
You and Ken are going to be best friends real soon.
But it's exploitive because people that move out there and want to be. So you've got all these people like filtering into this scenario. Mm-hmm. They want to do something, and so people are going to like take them and mold them and screw with them.
Yeah. And a lot of it was like, I can't stand waiting for my future to be determined by somebody else.
Well, you're going to fail if you wait.
Screw that. Like, even if I'm working at it, the idea that what I'm good at will not be utilized unless the right person sees it at the right moment is idiotic.
It's insane.
To me.
It doesn't work.
It's infuriating.
It doesn't work.
And so I called up my brother. Like I make great documentaries, make great videos, and we decided, hey, one thing that we grew up not understanding and weren't told this or explained this, like traveling is a extremely good thing for you and your soul. And we always saw it as like unattainable because it seemed expensive. You're spending money on hotels and travel and all that kind of stuff. We were like, well, let's try something. Let's start a documentary series on how to travel the world with no money. And so we spent the next 2 years traveling the world, and that's kind of how I got my start in like the film industry, was doing my own thing because I could see that I would still be like a second AD somewhere in Los Angeles. Well, I don't want to be a second AD ever.
I get it. I understand, because I would be an editor, and that's I was a director and an editor, but people paid me to edit. They didn't pay me as much to direct. I would have starved to death if I was. And the only reason I ever got jobs directing is because I was an editor. I mean, I get that. I think that is exactly correct. As soon as you find your path, as soon as you get in there, you are that person, because those are the contacts you made. But I I also think that you did the right thing. You found your path, and your path was to make it happen because it was going to happen. Where, you know, waiting for it is failure. Waiting for it means you're, you know, a barista at Starbucks or the coffee bean. I mean, that's waiting for it. Or, and like, how do you not do it? Well, I mean, it requires infrastructure and capital and some, like, you might not have had any money, like, to do what you did, but you still had some money. Like, you didn't beg. You didn't, like, at the gas station say, oh, we're out of gas. You stayed in hotels. You didn't, I mean, I think it'd be neat to go camping at all these different places.
We did camping most of the time.
Sure. But even going camping, it's $15 or something to stay at a random place. Yeah. Or, you know, if you sleep in your car, one of the things that I've told Bill that, you know, he should quit if he's staying in his car. He just needs to. I mean, there's no coming back from that. I mean, once you're in your car, I mean, that's where you are, you know?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's so many people still living in their cars in LA.
Oh yeah, no, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's here. I mean, and I live in a small town in Kentucky. There are I think it was 1,100 kids that are homeless in the county that I live in. 1,100 homeless kids. It's a pretty wealthy city. It's a horse town. It's a city of, I want to say 300,000 maybe.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe 400,000. It's second biggest city in Kentucky. You know, so it has city problems, and you know, figuring out what the fuck is wrong with this is something we struggle with in general. So, you know, I think it's interesting that and I say this to Bill all the time, we are privileged. We don't have any money. I don't have any money, but still I have enough to, like, I mean, it's 100 degrees outside. I have an air conditioner right there. We're making a TV show. Yeah. I mean, it's how you look at it.
Completely agree. We have just enough to get by all the time, and that's pretty much it, you know. And I don't know. Have y'all ever watched a documentary called Happy People by Werner Herzog?
And Werner Herzog made a comment on one of my films. It was like,
okay.
Well, it's called In a Spiral State. We showed it to him, and I don't remember the comment. It was like, okay, this happened.
Dude, he's such a weird dude. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's a gem.
He's got a very dry sense of humor. Yeah, it's hilarious. But like, it's these people. It's about these people basically in Siberia who live in the wild. They're partially nomadic. They have nothing, but they are the most joyful and happy people that you could ever come across. And so basing your happiness and what you consider to be the pursuit of happiness on, like, material things and money and all these things will only lead you to destruction. It'll lead you to hate yourself. It'll lead you to be bitter against everybody else who's doing better than you. Because there's always going to be people who do better than you, and it might not be in the cards for you to make a ton of money. Documentaries don't make jack squat. I don't make any money on documentaries.
Yeah, they make about as much as a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And joy comes from within, and you can find joy in any situation. And like, yeah, we are privileged to be able to do what we're doing, and there's an argument to be made that podcasting is almost useless in a lot of ways. Like, and that's like, I produced 3 podcasts. Like, I don't know. There's just something funny about like putting yourself out there on camera from your home every day to a bunch of strangers just talking about everyday stuff that everyone's trying to connect with. I'm going on a weird tangent right now, but yeah, it's there's something about it that's really fun, and it's really nice, the people you meet along the way. And I think the idea, I guess what I'm trying to say is just enjoy the journey, because if you're looking for an outcome, and your happiness and what you desire is based on that outcome, you're going to end up sad and depressed at the end. So enjoy the journey while you're going on it. I guess that's what
you better. It's not exactly what you're saying, but it sounds like something similar to you better love it.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm out here. I'll give you a guess. Why? I'm a sadist and a masochist. No, I'm pursuing acting.
Yeah.
Right? As is everybody. Including my doctor. They're all actors, actually. You know, it's just a side gig right now. But all of the people that I've talked to or watched or read about or listened to, et cetera, when they talk about acting, other actors, who have made it, who are much more established, literally all of them say the same thing, which is essentially what you just said. They're like, if you don't have a passion for this, if you don't actually like it, don't do it, because the end goal is not living in Bel Air. It's
living in Santa Barbara.
That is you know what I'm saying? Like, you better like acting.
Yeah, you better like it a lot.
Yeah.
And everything that goes around with it, actors access, man, like submitting.
But I mean, I would propose that it is possible, and there are two issues with what I'm going to say. One is, I'm going to say what the issues are first. You are taking classes, you are doing the steps to be a better actor, but the second issue is that if you were, say, in a place where it costs less money, you would be potentially in more films if you had a crew of people.
Atlanta,
or somewhere else.
Like where?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't.
Are you talking about Louisville, Kentucky?
No, you can. No,
Ken?
I don't take jobs in Louisville, Kentucky. I won't do it. It's too far away. I mean,
I don't either.
It's too far. But I mean, I think
I got
point
an agent
is,
out here. I didn't get an agent there. They were like,
sure,
like, go fuck yourself.
My point is that, and unless you are surrounded with a team of people, like, you're not going to make anything. Like,
you're right.
I
left Kentucky.
You've got to have a crew.
I had access to equipment, an amazing director, amazing photographer, or DP, just a crew of people that were actually create stuff for free. And these are people that had lived in Los Angeles and had been in the unions and done all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds insane. The thing is, there is something about going to the place that you're supposed to go and doing the thing.
That's fair.
That might sound, it sounds to me a little ridiculous. So why didn't I go to Atlanta? Well, no offense, Atlanta. It's Atlanta.
Yeah.
Hey, have you ever been to Atlanta?
I don't like driving in Atlanta. That's the place where I fear for my life. I mean, I think LA driving's all right. Like, that's cool. I'll drive in LA all day. How Atlanta is kind of like, okay.
How Atlanta, man?
I don't know. My wife's an actress and a stunt woman.
Okay.
She moved to Atlanta from LA, and she's never worked more in her entire life.
I believe you.
So this is what I'm saying, though. You actually touch it with a pen. She moved from LA. Yeah? No, is she from LA?
No. She moved to Colorado.
So she had to go there.
Yeah. And worked very little, hated it.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Got the golden handcuffs, got a good job that wasn't entertainment. It was entertainment adjacent. She met all the people that she wanted to work with, but they only saw her as this one other job.
Yes. But my point is this. This is my point.
Yeah.
If we can look at things in hindsight and say, man, if only I had just cut the line and gotten to the front, but that's not what happens. I mean, maybe sometimes you can work smarter and not harder.
That is the only way to succeed in LA. You have to cut the line. If you don't, you're gonna fail, or you're gonna do what you do, which is work remotely.
Well, you're bursting my metaphor, but my metaphoric bubble, both figuratively and literally. What I'm saying is, had she just gone to Atlanta, which maybe is something that I don't know your wife, maybe it's something that in hindsight she was like, man, I could have saved a lot of time and money and everything. Maybe it would have been better to just do that. But to go from Colorado to LA, why didn't you go to Atlanta? Oh, well, she had reasons. She had seen LA. She was like, you know what? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so charged with that experience and understanding, boom, hits Atlanta, makes it happen. And at no time is she thinking, oh man, but what about LA? Isn't that the place?
Yeah.
No, because she's already done it.
You got to get hard in
That's
LA.
what I'm saying.
That's where you go to get hard.
I like that point. I like that point.
That's my deal. I was like, I could go to Atlanta, but check it out. I'm 42 years old. Okay. Now, at the time, it was like 38, 39. And I was like, well, if I go to Atlanta and I do my thing and I'm trying to get established here for, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years. And now I'm like 45 years old. And I'm like, shouldn't I spend that time in the place where you're supposed to go? Is that stupid? No, it's not, because there's a mindset. I was in Beijing. There is a ton of work in film in Beijing.
Sure.
People are always getting hired. It's just the kind of work you're going to be doing is essentially soap operas.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that.
And I was begged to stay in Thailand. They begged me to go and take a job there because there was maybe 4 or 5 American filmmakers there of any kind of quality. They were like, you need to stay. And I'm like, I can't get fucking breakfast, guys. I can't get a cup of coffee.
In Thailand, you could get
Thailand.
I mean, it's sweet. They have a sweet, terrible coffee. Like they don't. Like,
you need to go back. It's better now.
I like my coffee black. Like I like my men. So
listen, if you're gonna go that right, my point is not to talk about my acting, but what it is to say there's an order of operations, and maybe going to LA is not the right move. But I will say this, Ken. While I don't create as many films or projects, I'm not in nearly as many projects as I was in Kentucky. Out here, I am getting better as an actor. I'm around people that are not doing it as a hobby.
Yep, absolutely.
See, I say this with love.
But no, your quality.
Everyone in Kentucky that's doing it has the aura of defeat.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I agree with you there. I feel pretty victorious because I make my own choices.
I don't mean you. I mean, dude, the people when you and I went to Louisville and we're just sitting there like, come on, guys, take this seriously.
Yeah. No, but I mean that's
Jake,
the thing. When you left, you were at a certain level, and I've seen an absolute level change because what it does is it makes you hard, it makes you hustle, it makes you think. You've got to act just to be there. You have to deal with all this fucking shit that is happening all the fucking time. The reason why Jake lives in Montana and the reason I live in Kentucky is I'm done with that shit. I'm good.
So Jake,
I want to play my guitar. If I make a film, that's cool.
Why did you move to LA? You were here for 4 years. Why did you come here? To Van Nuys. That's where I am.
Same reason. I was like, this is where you got to go if you want to be in the film industry.
Yeah.
That's where all my friends went after film school. I went to SCAD in Georgia.
Yeah, that's
I
big.
lived in Savannah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I lived in Savannah for a while, yeah.
I love Savannah. That was a fun town.
When were you there?
2010 to 2013.
So it was a little bit after me. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, everybody, we were like, me and 4 other guys were like, I want to get an apartment and go check out LA. So we all did, and we lived there for a few years. And some of them got work, some of them didn't. Only one is still in the film industry, besides myself.
That happens.
Yeah. One's in advertising, one's out completely. Yeah.
Well, the one that's in advertising is smart.
He's making some money, so that's pretty good.
I got a gig at Chai Day. I worked there for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, I want to make my own shit. I mean, this is like, they didn't really ask for much. It was super easy work. It paid really well, and I just had this fucking tool in my head, like brain damage. Oh, like I got the job that people like, they make Super Bowl commercials, and I'm like, it's not for me. I want to make indie movies.
What advice can you give, Jake, about that journey? Because I mean, you came out here right after school, and then what's your progression from there, and what do you glean from it? And sorry if this is depressing.
No.
It's perfect.
Life's, this is going to sound so stupid. Life's a freaking journey. You have to figure out who you are. And like, there are people who thrive in LA. There are people who thrive in Atlanta. There are people who absolutely do not. And I was always somebody who wanted to thrive in a place like LA. But I am not mentally capable of doing that. I need wide open spaces. I need people to leave me alone. I need room to think and do my own thing. Whereas there are people who are extremely collaborative and will work with anyone and do anything. And I have probably stupid, my wife would probably say stupid high standards when it comes to making movies. Like she does a lot of work for Tyler Perry Studios.
Sure. Yeah, my buddy, he's written some songs for that, Tyler Perry. Yeah, so that's great.
And I think what they do is absolute garbage.
Oh, it is. It's trash. I mean, but that's the point. That's why it's successful. It is successful because it caters to an audience, and that audience gets the joke. And they love that it's bad, and that it's fucking hilarious because it's a cultural thing.
I'm just not sure they get that it's a joke, though. That's my issue. My issue is I have to be 100% behind what I'm making.
You're not the
I can't
demographic.
Be a part of something.
Yeah,
true.
You're not.
But I can't be a part of something that takes culture to a more narcissistic place, to a more degrading place. And it drives me nuts that there are so many people willing to do that.
Yeah. That's why I don't work at fucking Disney. Fuck that place.
There you go. Yes. 100%.
I mean, that's why I quit. That is fuck Disney, you know? It's like,
and so this is also the other side of this. The other side of this coin is that I make far less money than I would if I actually worked at these places. Because I could get a job at Tyler Perry Studios, no problem. My wife's worked there for like 5 years now and works with Tyler Perry side by side every day. Yeah. So like, I could get a job there if I wanted to.
It's a good job.
But I will not. There's no amount of money he could offer me that would make me shoot one season of one of his shows.
I would totally shoot one season of his show. I love that. I made a black exploitation film, and it is awesome. It is just it's a whole thing, And I spent some time in South Central and like made some real shit. And that's talking. Like these people talk. They communicate. There is life and love, happiness, joy. It's things that us cisgendered middle-aged white dudes like we can't handle. We can't handle joy. No, joy is like beyond. That's why you're not the demographic.
Ken, you just don't like the fact that you and Jake are agreeing. you just don't like the fact that you guys actually agree on this thing.
Well, I said at the beginning of the show, like one of my best friends, he's a libertarian. I mean, we agree on some
there's
shit.
People in our game that are staunch libertarians. You know that, right?
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine.
They just don't talk about it because I told them not to. I said, no.
It's fine.
So,
you just give it out. You take it in. You give it out. You just back and forth. It's like making love.
Jake, have you? This is fucking. Have you lost friends?
Yeah.
In the last. I mean, I think we're all about the same age, ish. We're in the same.
I think we're older than he
bubble,
is.
I believe.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, we are probably older. I'm 42.
I'm 37.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So, but it's pretty close. I mean, it's within the same sort of, to overuse the word zeitgeist, or mindset maybe is a better word for it. I have noticed for myself when I was in my 30s, people started getting very scorched earth with people they knew. Anyone that was sort of outside of their circle, and even people within their circle, it's like if you cross them in any way whatsoever, like they're very willing to just burn the bridge and explode it. And then as I've gotten to my 40s, people have now gotten self-righteous about it, and they've turned into, well, the stereotypical people in their middle-aged people in their 40s. So maybe there's that element, but we also have to consider a very divisive political climate, both figuratively and literally.
Anytime you throw around civil war, sometimes just.
Well, before we get into that, what I'm trying to say is, both of you actually, I think, have pretty strong opinions, but actually are able to talk about things and get along with opposing views. Have you lost friends? And can you tell us a little bit about it? And then I'm gonna let you and Ken just dogfight it
out. So a lot of the friends I've lost was mainly just due to just a long time of not speaking and just just everybody going their separate ways, living life. Like I grew up. Grew up in Dallas, Texas. Went to a super. I'm a Christian. I grew up Christian.
Was it TCU?
SMU in Dallas.
SMU. Okay.
TCU's in Fort Worth.
Oh, okay. I nearly went to TCU back in the day. Okay, but go on.
Screw TCU.
Yeah, fuck them. I hate them. Agreed.
So, I still have very strong friendships. Me and my 5 best friends met each other in kindergarten. And so
wow.
we go on a trip every year together, maintain the friendship. We talk year round. We try to keep up with each other as much as possible. So I have friendships that I've had for 30,
a long time.
32 of my 37 years on the planet, which is pretty intense. Then, as with everybody, life gets in the way, you just drift apart. And then in 2020, I lost dozens of friends.
Yeah, sure.
Just so many friends. It was wild. 2020, that was a rough time for my friendship, my friendships in general. And I tried to, you try to reach out and talk to them, and it's extremely difficult, and they won't do it. And a lot of times they'll lie to you, and they won't actually hear you out. They've already made up their mind. They can't be friends with you because of what you think.
On Facebook. Yeah, that's about the 2020 time.
Is that about the time you ran for office, or is that not?
I've never run for office.
I thought you ran for office.
I made a documentary about a guy who ran for office.
Oh, so
yeah.
Okay, never mind. All right, I interrupted you.
No, it's all good. He ran for governor of Georgia.
Yeah.
And yeah, I made a documentary about him.
Yeah.
I will run for office eventually here in Montana, specifically for one issue, but we can get to that later. And like
Dreadies Cast.
2020, I was surprised to hear that, because I feel like there was such a great divide in 2016. That's when it really happened for me, and then 2020, it's like it was already done.
I think people had to. The thing with, but we're talking about, or we're not pointing at the elephant in the room yet, of course, but I think one of the things with 2020. Agree, disagree, please, is the average person who did not have time to think because they were always working or sedating themselves.
Oh shit!
Suddenly,
I didn't even think about that.
Had to face themselves.
Yeah,
and everyone was having, and I'm using a something that it's nomenclature of the victim mindset, but everyone had a trauma, which was extreme stress. Everyone, even people that weren't as affected by COVID. I mean, the world shutting down is a pretty big deal. So there's all of that, But anyway, continue with what you're saying. Ken, I want to give you the floor in a second, but I want Jake to finish.
Yeah, there was a point where it was extremely mentally exhausting trying to continue to reach out and talk to people and try to reconnect with folks who had made it clear they weren't interested in what I had to say. And it got to the point where I had to just accept it and kind of move on. And that it's one thing if you do that with one relationship that you've been close to them for a very long time, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, that's always difficult. But when it's 45 people who you thought were your friends, all at the same time, that is really difficult. And it took me a while to accept that that's just how it was. And if it was meant to be, it would come back around and we'd be okay. And, later on down the road, but yeah, it was, 2020, 2021, that was a hard, difficult time for.
Did you ever think that, and I say this non-facetiously, by the way, because I went through something very similar. Did you ever think that you were wrong?
Oh yeah, I pretty much can assume that I'm wrong about 99% of the time, and I'm looking for people to tell me why I'm wrong and give me good concrete reasons why. Because
it's interesting.
I'm an idiot. I'm a dum-dum.
It's interesting. We all have these blind spots, and what I was saying about being in your 30s and 40s, it happens to everybody. But I will stop ranting at this point. Ken, continue.
Oh, all I was going to say about 2020 is I didn't notice. I mean, I noticed that there was a pandemic going on, but 2019 and 2020, coming from a person who wants to spend all of my time in my room by myself, there is no greater joy than not having to go out and do anything. So it was a creative boom. It was I had all the gear I needed. I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't spend as much money going out. I still went out. I mean, there were restaurants that I went out to, ordered often because I didn't want them to shut down. It sucked that so many places closed down, and it's just we picked a few places and we just hit those spots every week. Because they were fucked. And yeah, but ultimately the hardship was, my girlfriend didn't go to work. It's not that she didn't make as much money. It's that she didn't get out of the house, so I could have more time alone. Which I love her. So I want to spend lots of time with her.
She doesn't watch GGPs.
Well, she might be able to hear me. She's here. We're in a time right now where we don't get to spend any time together. Go ahead.
No, I feel the same way about my wife. Like, I love being around her all the time, but man, I need some time to just be by myself. Like, we've been up here building our house for 2 weeks straight, and I've gotten like 1 hour alone time, and I'm about to lose my freaking mind.
You need time. Like you need like 10 hours, or you need a day or two of nothing but you, just to fucking be you. That's all you need. It's just like some time to be you.
Yeah. And that did make it harder. It was interesting. Like personally, like me and my wife grew a lot closer. We did a lot of, it was probably our best year together in 2020 with just us. And we bought our land in Montana, which was a huge thing for us. And like, we made decisions to move up here and all that. And so like 2020 in that regard was awesome for us. Georgia didn't shut down for we shut down for like 2 weeks, maybe.
I think it was Kentucky.
Some places voluntarily shut down, but like the governor.
The South had it a little bit more relaxed than a lot of other places in the country.
Yeah. So we were still working. Really. I mean, that first day of lockdown, I went out on the street because I still was working. I was somehow real estate photography was considered essential.
I mean, but you're not.
Now, do you do drone work?
Yeah, I would say drone work is because I've seen video clips of what he shot, and it's just the drone work is actually quite good. I mean, nice job.
One of the thoughts of mine. So right before I came out here, actually, I was about to come out here, and then COVID happened. Was I got a little Mavic Mini to get underneath that commercial thing, and then was doing a little bit of the real estate videography with the hopes of doing it out here. So anybody that needs some help with that, look brother up.
I've got my own real estate photography company.
Right on.
We haven't
in LA
yet.
So
hey, we're expanding right now. We're in.
I would love to do something.
Good to know.
It's interesting.
I have a Mavic Mini.
A lot of the businesses that they won't hire me to do that. They'll hire me to shoot and stuff like that. But I don't have a drone license. You don't
need one.
With my drone, I don't need one. But you need one to work commercially.
Yes.
If you have a Mavic Mini, it is 1 gram less than you have to have that license.
Right.
No.
It is literally the reason they made it.
No.
Well,
it's 1 gram.
Die is cast, Jake.
It's 1 gram less than you have to register the drone. If you want to fly commercially, you still have to have a license, even with the Mini.
Interesting.
But if you want to shoot an indie thing and steal shots, like I did the fuck all in Los Angeles, because I just do, and then if you ask permission, they're gonna say no. So you just do the thing.
Yep. Yes. Oh, 100%. I've flown so many places where I was never supposed to fly a drone, but just unless they actually catch you in the act, no one gives a crap.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It'd be cool if they had like fighter drones. They'd be like to take out other drones.
There was a drone.
They do have that.
Yeah.
Do they really? Holy shit!
They're waging war right now with fighter drones.
Little aerosoft jets.
That's a thing.
There's a flamethrower drone.
I want the flamethrower drone.
There's a flamethrower drone. It goes around I mean, spewing flames. It's wild.
Wow.
Jake, would you ever be interested in playing remotely? It'd be very similar to this, but playing in a Dreadlore game.
But more politics.
It's very bad.
Never played Dreadlore. I don't know the.
You might do it. You might do it. I'm going to run a one shot. So it's just a one game. We'll meet up. We'll make characters, a couple hours, and then we'll actually meet up for the game. It will not be live, but we'll tape it. And the goal is have a few people that know what they're doing, and a few people that don't, to learn the game and play. And it's interesting stuff.
One of the things that I have to say that you might enjoy is you get flagged for like saying real shit, but like when it's make believe, say anything you want. I mean, there are a couple of things where like people will judge you.
Right.
So in the game that we're running
all the time.
in the game that we're running right now, it's called Into Space, right? And have you seen The Expanse?
Yes, I love The Expanse.
Okay, imagine The Expanse. It's the world is
There we go.
the world is kind of like that. I actually wrote this book in 2015, and it's horribly written. I wrote it for National Novel Writers Month thing. So you write a novel in 1 month. It's called NaNoWriMo. You might check it out. They got a really cool website.
Wow.
NaNoWriMo.com, I think. Anyway, so I wrote this book. It's fucking awful, but I got the world, and I adapted it to this game system, Dreadlore.
Sick.
Yeah. So, and then I started writing these sort of episodic adventures. And what it is imagine Starship Troopers meets The Expanse. So the players, you play Space Marines of the fascist Sol System Authority. So Earth is no longer Earth. It's called Prime. Everyone is a colony of Prime.
Yeah.
The world is unions, and it's all political and all that stuff. And like in Starship Troopers, they don't realize they're fascists, right?
They're not fascists.
They're not. They are Marines because after their tenure, they will become citizens. So they went to the military to become citizens, right?
That sounds familiar.
Well, yeah, exactly. So they get into cryo sleep, and the idea is that you have to have 10 years of awake service. So you might be, for example, Ken's character is like 200 years old.
170 years old.
Yeah. But like he's still in the service, And they're always sent on some stupid mission that's suicidal with orders that when they complete it, they're wrong. So they get reprogrammed in boot camp.
Because society changes.
Right. Yeah. Because they're gone for 40 years.
Right.
So it's very interesting because you have this ability to really explore really dark shit with the mentality of, let's say, a Nazi. Like there are NPC, non-player characters. I mean, they're basically Nazis. They're not Nazis against who the Nazis were, but they're still space bigots, right?
The genocide isn't there unless you're on the other side, and then it's a genocide.
Right. Their big thing is the control of information. Of course, there's no such thing as true artificial intelligence, and any sort of like cybernetics. If you have too much, you're not considered human anymore. So that's kind of the political. Yeah, and you're not sentient even. There's no sort of racism when it comes to skin color or ethnicity. It's more about where you're from. So if you're from Earth, all right. If you're from Mars, you're a traitor. That kind of stuff. Anyway, it's interesting. And Ken plays plays an awesome character. He essentially has a lightsaber and it just kills everyone.
Ken.
Yeah, you get persecuted for just doing your job. You just got to do your job.
No, it'd be cool. It'd be cool to have you on there.
That sounds fun. I mean, I'll probably ruin it in some way, shape, or form, but yeah.
You can't ruin it.
No.
You can't ruin it.
As long as you don't
watch me try.
As long as you don't try to
try.
like as long as you don't like try to take the story and like rebel and make your own story and then fight us all for no reason.
Hang on, I got to say.
You mean?
Give me a second.
You mean be any D&D player? Lord. Yeah, role-playing games are interesting. You can learn a whole lot from them. I know one of the cast members that we have. They are, I guess, a therapist of sorts. I don't know what the
like a real
what
therapist.
Specifically. Yeah, but they have like clients and the whole thing, and a lot of times they'll bring that in to the game and sort of be informative. And with the guys, with that sort of buffer of we're playing a game and we're having the professionalism of keeping it in game, right?
Yeah.
You're then able to actually say and do and discuss pretty big ideas. Yeah. Without
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the times, those like big ideas, the very ethereal conversations, I generally will have like, it'll be very sporadic and around a campfire. That's Other than that, like, yeah, campfire bourbon. Yeah.
It's kind of like the bourbon is there.
Yeah.
I've woken up many times after a gaming session and I'm like, what the hell did I say last night? And boy, do I have a hangover now. And this is all streaming on the internet.
It's all immortalized. It's immortalized on YouTube. It's fine. And then you go back and watch it like, I'm an asshole.
Oh my God. Like, seriously, I was wrong. Yeah. Like, oh my God. Like, and you don't want to fess up to it, but what do you do?
Jake, you mentioned something about podcasting and wondering if it was a good or a bad thing. I want you to continue on that if you don't mind.
Sure.
You produce 3 podcasts. You're on a podcast right now. So what is your opinion of them in good, bad, ugly?
It wasn't necessarily good or bad. It was like in general, podcasting, I think is fantastic. I think it's been a massive benefit to conversations and being able to hear out an entire thought process. I think that too many people create podcasts to be just about themselves and kind of trick their audience in a way, kind of con their audience into. I'm
sorry, what? Sorry, just a second.
Kind of con their audience into into liking them when that's not actually who they are. And like I think podcasting in general, unless it's literally like some type of fictional podcast where you're telling a story, I think you should be presenting yourself as yourself. Like if you were to meet me in a bar in person, I'm this exact same person. I'm probably a little bit more shy. I probably wouldn't approach you, but if you started talking to me or whatever, like I would 100% launch right into whatever I had on my mind at the time.
It's cool. We have a Ken to broach that divide. So.
There we go. So it's not necessarily that I think, podcasting in general is bad. I think that like anything else, it can be used for negative purposes. And I think that there are so many podcasts now that it's interesting. There used to be 3 channels on TV. So everybody's watching the same thing. Everybody bonded over those 3 channels, that one great show that was on, on Thursday night or whatever. And now everyone is in their own little tiny podcast sphere, their little entertainment sphere. Everybody has their own streaming, which has their own algorithm based in it. And so no one is connected via like information, knowledge, and entertainment anymore, which is really strange.
We had a guest, it was a couple weeks ago, Eric McHugh. Interesting dude. He was much different than I thought he was going to be. But his big shtick, other than a particular kind of yoga was Web 3.0. Which apparently is usually spoken, from what I understand, is usually spoken in the same breath as NFTs and crypto. And
it's blockchain based, yeah.
Ken and I were like, so what the fuck is a crypto? Like, you know, so tell us, what do you mean? And one of the interesting things, because I don't quite understand it. He said Web3, and this has to do with what you just mentioned, by the way. Mm-hmm. Web3 has to do with when you get online via your phone, however you do, mm-hmm. when you access the All-Father, mm-hmm. you are given more and more useful information tailored to you. This is an aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And my initial thought was, man, that seems like you're in a bubble.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole. What I got from it is that he was trying to say that it raises up our bar and makes us be able to compete against things like Amazon,
which was exactly what he was trying to say.
But you know, to me,
I agree with that to an extent. Yeah.
You know, leveling the playing field and giving our whatever searchability or
ownership is what he kept on saying the word.
Oh yeah, ownership. But like, you know, the funny thing about ownership is you have to have something for it to work.
Jake, what do you think about Web3, NFTs, and crypto? What is your opinion on this?
So actually, Bitcoin is one of the things that I'm geekiest about.
Interesting.
Well, that's it for the night. No, I'm kidding.
I am Web3. I've not dived into as much. I own some
divin into.
My bad. Divin into. I've not divin into Web3 quite as much. I own some like websites on there, like with my name and my company's name and stuff, just for to future-proof my businesses and stuff. But I haven't built anything on any of these blockchains yet, or put like a website there or anything.
What do you mean by that?
So like you can build Web3 websites right now. You could build a website that's on the blockchain. The thing with the difference between like the web we're on now, Web 2.0 and Web 3.0, is that Web 2.0 was hosted on Amazon servers most of the time.
Yeah,
you know, there are other servers out there, but Amazon is the biggest.
Yeah, AWS and WordPress. Although I wouldn't be surprised if WordPress was actually on AWS.
It's probably on Amazon.
Everything's on Amazon.
Like my website right now is on AWS. It's Squarespace. And so like.
Oh yeah, mine's on Vercel.
Mine's just on Amazon,
and I don't know who.
I just go straight to the buckets.
Just to the teat. Oh, Dark Mother.
I mean, it's a lot cheaper. It's so much. It's like $5 a month, and like for each website, it's like $12.
I just quit.
A year.
I just quit Amazon Prime. Jake, I'm sorry, we're interrupting. Continue.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, I mean, he's right about the ownership thing. So, like, if somebody else decided they didn't want you on the internet anymore, your website on the internet anymore, it's gone. Like you can control it up until the point that someone in a position of authority or power says, "Nah, no more."
Was it 8chan or 4chan?
4chan? Oh, 4chan. What was there's another messaging app that was around that time too. Anyway, and so the thing with the blockchain is it's completely decentralized. There's no central servers, so it's disseminated out among.
But how do you do that? And this is something that Eric, not to diss him, because I questioned him, and so did Ken, several times on this. He was very good at answering. But when we said, cool, how? His answer was, he was like, cool, get online and find out. And we're like, okay, damn it.
I'll do Bitcoin as an example, because that's what I'm best at. Okay.
Sure.
So the idea behind Bitcoin is that it is decentralized. There's not one person that controls the rules for it, how many Bitcoin get made, all that kind of stuff. There's no one in charge of it. And the way that it happens is there are tens of thousands of people who have decided, you know what? I believe in Bitcoin. I'm going to set up my computer as a node to basically to confirm all of the information on the blockchain. So every time a transaction happens with Bitcoin, there are tens of thousands of nodes around the world that confirm that transaction. And so each node, each computer has one piece of the puzzle, and it all comes into this has been confirmed. And so it's next to impossible to print more Bitcoin. Like as soon as someone tries to sneak in more Bitcoin onto the server,
It's like 20 million or 20,000 or so. Eric actually told us the number.
Yeah, there's 21 million Bitcoin will be created.
Right.
Yeah.
It grows in
time. In the end, 21 million Bitcoin will have been created by the year 2140. Right now we're at like 19 million, 20 million, somewhere in there.
Wow.
And yeah, the idea behind it is that you can't just shut it down. You would have to cause a worldwide blackout of all internet, all power, everything, and wipe everybody's hard drives at the same time.
But the thing is, they do that in Escape from LA.
Or Sunspots.
And, you know, I mean, when Snake Plissken is his name. When he gets, you know,
no, that you make a great argument. It's
just saying,
very, very coherent.
It's happened.
Very believable. Yeah, totally.
Or Sunspots.
Or Sunspots.
I mean, you just got to get one good little boop every 11 years or so. I mean,
I'm not trying to say Terminator 3 was a good movie, but you know, can go on.
If all of the robots could have been wiped out because there was a solar flare, I mean, are they that dangerous?
Solar flares?
Yeah. No.
Say so.
The robots. I was saying the robots are the robots. I mean, so they can only take over until the sun starts really kicking in.
Yeah.
Like 1911 when they did that flare and like it knocked out the whole communication network.
Oh yeah, melted telephone poles.
Yeah, it melted.
Holy shit! Really?
It melted the telephone poles.
Wild.
What?
The telecommunication devices didn't even have to be wired. They could transfer information while it was.
So okay. First of all, two things. One, what are you talking about? What year? What year?
I thought it was
1911.
It was the early 1900s. Yeah.
Okay. Second, what is it? Nikola Tesla had talked about wireless transfer of energy back in I think it was 1900 or 1890-ish. So the idea of these things being able to wirelessly charge, this is 100-plus-year-old technology.
Mm-hmm.
Ball lightning, baby.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Nikola Tesla got completely screwed over.
He got boned.
You know what's wild?
1859.
1859. Okay, there we go.
It was called the Carrington event. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the people who went to Nikola Tesla's home to, after he died, to see over the transition of his estate.
Steal his shit, right?
Where a lot of it was just disappeared into thin air. One of those people was Trump's great-grandfather, which is just the weirdest coincidence.
We're gonna dive directly going into the neutral zone.
I just found that to be a funny. I don't really give a crap to talk about Trump, but I thought that was extremely strange that somebody who was the president, his great grandfather raided
it's like a Quantum Leap episode.
Facility. Yeah.
It's like a Quantum Leap episode.
But it couldn't have been because it wasn't during Sam Beckett's lifetime.
I think there's a new one now.
Yeah, there was one. There was a new one, but I don't think I didn't watch it.
Why would you?
Yeah, why would you? It's like making a new MacGyver. I think they made a new MacGyver as well.
I didn't watch it.
What the fuck?
I've seen a clip from it. It's terrible.
You know
what
was
doing,
good,
guys? MacGyver. Yeah, MacGyver was awesome.
MacGyver. It was good until it wasn't good.
That was good.
It stopped
Magnum
being
PI
good.
was good.
Episode, what was it? Season, I think it was the last season. Like they kind of phoned in. They were like really high on the cocaine or something that last season because it was a brutal season to watch. And like, I don't think I finished it. Like,
is this MacGyver?
MacGyver. It went bad.
In Quantum Leap, I don't think they
finished it.
In Quantum Leap? Yeah. I don't think so.
Well, it was
so many shows jumped the shark. Like so many shows.
Yeah. Good reference.
Terrible.
Yeah. Happy days, baby.
What the fuck were we talking about? Right. So nodes on Bitcoin. Okay. So how do we get into Bitcoin? We want to get rich. How do we get into Bitcoin?
You just buy it with money.
So
but do you use something like Coinbase? Really, isn't that?
I've never used. Don't use.
It seems like a bad move.
You can use Coinbase if you want to learn how everything works.
Yeah.
Coinbase makes it really easy. I would never advise somebody to use Coinbase for anything. Don't use a public marketplace for anything. But if you want to get rich, Bitcoin is not the answer. Bitcoin is a hedge against the future. Bitcoin is something that will build wealth over time. It is not at all a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah,
there's so many people.
It presupposes there's a future.
Well, that too. But like the differentiator is crypto. Okay, crypto is for people who want to get rich quick. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin is for people who want generational wealth. Okay, so crypto is you're betting. It's just like the stock market. Crypto is just a bunch of companies. It's just a bunch of companies who create their own coin to try to make money off of it, to get you to buy it, to up their stock. Crypto is freaking meaningless. It's just numbers on a page that don't actually mean anything. Okay, it's all these different companies who have started their own coins, started their own platforms to build web apps and stuff on. But it all depends on whether or not that company succeeds. It has nothing to do with you. Whereas Bitcoin, there are four things that you need to build a stable currency. Okay, one,
God.
God is a good one. No, one, it has to be easily transferable. You have to be able to exchange it very long distances. It has to be like readily acceptable. People have to be able to transport it. It has to be divisible. So you have to have it break down into tiny little numbers so that you can make tiny transactions or huge transactions. Okay, Bitcoin does this. It cannot be inflated. So there cannot be any more Bitcoin printed than 21 million. That's it forever. There's not ever going to be any more. I'm blanking on the fourth one at this exact moment. I feel like it was I feel like
the Department of Education, Department of Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. The idea that Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but there's only one Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin, you have to prove through a series of math equations, your computer, your node, whatever it is that you're running. It's a proof of work system that takes energy and turns it into Bitcoin and turns it into currency. Whereas every other cryptocurrency, minus a couple that are a little sketchy at times, is proof of stake, which is basically just betting. It's just the stock market. You're just gambling on your money. And that's fine. If you want to do that, that's great. You can make a ton of money playing with crypto. But it's a gamble, and a ton of people end up dead broke. Whereas Bitcoin, it is my full belief. This is what led me to where I am today politically, is specifically the Federal Reserve and Bitcoin. Those two things combined.
That sounds libertarian.
Yeah, no, I'm a hardcore libertarian.
We know this, but we're having a conversation.
Now, Ken, you know as well as I do, I'm not libertarian.
I do know that.
That doesn't mean I disagree with it.
Oh, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I don't. You haven't said anything that offends me. I'm good.
Gosh, I hate bald people so much. It's terrible. There we go.
Still not offensive. Don't care about personal physical attacks.
Saying it is bald.
I know. It's like, but that's just us. I mean, that's all bald people say that shit.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know what bald people hate more than other bald people?
Oh, the balding people? Is that what's
the balding people?
I don't think we hate balding people. I'm actually jealous of your hair.
You do.
That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'll be like, Ken, oh man, it's going, and he's like, you might as well shave it off.
Yeah, shave it off. Just be done with it. Just be done with it.
Cut it down.
You don't need it.
Just be done. Every time.
There are people who should shave it off. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
I bet. Just a comment. I mean, I think there needs to be a system. To me,
fascist. You're a fascist.
To me, Bitcoin is an idea. I mean, maybe a universal, a world. I mean, monetary, non-fungible thing is needed, and that's what Bitcoin is. I mean, why? But what it really takes is people to believe in it. And I said this, I think, in the last episode. We have to believe that it has value before it has value. I mean, and it can be anything.
That's literally anything.
It's been based off of the U.S. economy for a very long time. To me, Bitcoin, if you live in the U.S. and make money in the U.S., it's possible that you will benefit if the rest of the world bases their money system off your system. But I don't know. I'm not an economist. I really don't know. I think the ability to print
is cast.
The ability to print endless amounts of money, can cause inflation. So
that's the definition of inflation: is printing more money.
So
it's debasing your purchasing power.
I understand that. I mean, but there's a lot of things that go into inflation. When 2020 came around, gas prices were amazing. They were incredible. They could.
See, you're right. But again, you're not describing. You're describing what the current definition of inflation is, not what the traditional definition of.
Right.
Increasing prices is not inflation. Increasing prices is based on an extraordinary number of factors.
Sure.
Whereas inflation, the absolute original definition of inflation when it comes to currency is printing more money.
Yeah, for sure. And increasing
the money supply.
If you've seen why a lot of South American countries have had real troubles with this, is they would just print. They would print money just to get out of debt, and nobody believed it. Nobody believed the money was worth anything, so it wasn't worth anything.
Here's my question for you then. Why do you think that people around the world believe in the dollar?
The die is cast.
The mighty, the mighty U.S. military is one. I think
you nailed that one right on the head. Yeah.
that's where I would put my money, and that's where most of our money goes.
No, you're 100% correct. Look, there have been, I think, 8 to 13 countries over the last 30 years who have tried to switch from a dollar-based currency to a gold-based or petroleum-based currency.
Not allowed.
Do you want to know what happens each time that happens?
Their country fails.
Suddenly there's a weird coup that happens,
their country
and the
fails.
CIA may or may not be involved.
Sure.
But like you're 100% correct. What keeps our dollars valuable is our military enforcing that our dollars are valuable.
Yeah.
Which creates a whole.
It's not sustainable.
Forces us to be it's not sustainable, and it forces us to be an empire, because otherwise, as soon as people stop believing in the dollar or stop being forced to use the dollar,
right,
our economy is toast.
Sure.
We're done.
Because it's a lot of printed money.
We printed $6 trillion in 2020 and 2021.
I mean, this might sound a little political, but we were giving a lot of printed money.
Oh no, we're deep in the pain, y'all.
To say some other countries, and like to me, it was like, what does it mean? I mean, I know that if I put my money in a bank account, and it doesn't matter who's president. I mean, Republican, Democrat. I have yet to see. I mean, I don't mean to be offensive, but the Libertarian candidates haven't gotten to that. There's a glass ceiling.
Oh no, we're not there yet. I'm aware of that. I don't even think we should be running for president right now.
Right, because there's an I noticed when you said stuff, because I listened to your content, you say things like all politics are local, and you got to stick to that. You got to bring it up from a local level, and that's where you can actually make a choice. I noticed that here, and I'm sure that it is that way around the country. I forgot my fucking point.
Well, you know what? The reason is because you have a full bottle of Evan Williams next to you.
I do. It's sealed. I'm taking this with me.
Oh, well, put it in your trunk, dude.
Well, yeah, I want. Yeah. I mean.
You can put it in your trunk, and it's not lock the trunk. It's not considered.
I'm drinking ice right here. I mean, I still.
Are you driving later tonight?
No, I got to be up at 7. I got to be up at 6 tomorrow.
Yeah, fair enough. Soupy Jones was on, and she was asking what we were all drinking.
I said nothing.
Old fashioned.
I do win the day with my shirt.
They do.
Nice.
They do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so
this shirt was made by like children in Indonesia. I mean, that's how good it is. I
mean, really though? I don't think so. That was printed somewhere, dude.
It was printed.
I mean, if it was hand stitched, then fucking A, but
yeah, it's not.
No way. Now your iPhone was put together by children in like Western China. There you go. That amp you have,
the American capital is built off the backs of low wage workers. We definitely we're good at exploitation.
Well, let me throw this out.
And it works because the Americans have a big military. I don't agree with it. It's not. I don't think it's ideal. I mean, usually when that stuff happens,
do you want to be poor?
When that stuff happens, like as soon as your military isn't great, like what you were saying, you're done.
You're done. Do you want to be poor?
I am poor. I mean, I'm not poor like they're poor.
You're not.
I'm not poor like.
No, you're not.
I'm privileged.
You ain't poor.
But I mean, I definitely, I don't, this podcast isn't pulling in median American income. I think I spend.
Right. What I'm getting at is an obvious thing.
Sure.
But maybe I shouldn't.
Do it. Go for it. I mean.
So America's an empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to assume that you two will disagree with me here. I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
It's safety here for now, ish.
Oh yeah, no, I everything has its pros and cons. Like Genghis Khan murdering and raping 10% of the world or 40% of the world, wherever he did, had its pros and cons. Like, it was very good for his people, but it was miserable for everybody else. Like, us being the empire has created extreme wealth in this country. It has given us our culture is spread worldwide. You can go watch our movies, listen to our music anywhere in the world. Everyone knows who we are, and most people don't like it because of the fact that we're an empire. But
I'd say jealousy.
Jealousy, maybe.
And fear.
Fear for sure. But it creates, it leaves behind it a wake of destruction and terror that normally would not, that if it was happening in the United States by some other empire,
of course,
you would hate it and have a huge problem.
100%, which is why
would you rather,
I'm saying
it's good. Would you rather China or Russia?
Yeah. Do you want China to be in charge? Because they'll be worse.
Yeah, that's everybody's argument every single time. It's the China.
It is.
Argument.
I live there. I live there.
Ridiculous.
Which does not me having lived there does not mean I understand China by any stretch. However, it would be worse.
Oh, it would be worse. They're not economically set up for that. They don't have enough people. They don't have enough. They don't have enough industry. Their economy would fail if they tried to take on.
There's another reason. Historically, China. This is the shit that gets us canceled. What I'm about to say.
Cancel this.
Or gets me to cancel. I'm trying to be an actor. Okay. For the world, because the world is going to watch this. I don't like the idea of empires. I don't like the destruction. I don't like that. But what I am saying is, in a realistic, hey, here we are right now, it should be considered that if America was not the empire that it is, then someone would be. Now, that is a negative, it's not a positive perspective, but I'm diving into the prisoner's dilemma type stuff, which I know both of you know about.
Yeah.
The idea of you protect yourself and someone wants to be on top. Now, what I'm saying about China is this. America is an interesting brew, quite literally. Yes, we got a shitload of racism and bigotry. However, we do talk about it. China, Asia. I'm talking about Asia. They have an entirely different form of it.
Yeah, everyone.
And what I'm trying to say is this. When we are on top, it is a nationalistic thing. When some other countries are on top, it's an ethnic thing. Now, which one is better? I'm not trying to say one is better than the other, not really, but I'm saying that there's some serious violence and whatnot that can occur, like some last century shit that can occur.
So what you're saying is we're kind of.
I'm saying that we should be the empire.
Better off.
I'm saying that we're
I mean,
I'm
we're better
saying,
off
I'm
as
saying
Team
we're
America
the best.
World Police. I mean, that's really.
You're making the greater good argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're making it's for the greater good. Thus, it's what should happen.
Which is ugly. It's ugly.
It's also very. What's the right word? It's. I can't think of the right word at the moment. Keep going.
I think the issue is like we just got out of two major wars that we're not really sure why we started. I mean, I don't think it wasn't.
Well, we're not.
No, it wasn't because some people threw some planes into a building, and that was terrible. But hundreds of thousands of people that we killed because of revenge or oil.
Or just fucked up their lives.
Which we didn't really get the benefit of. It never really worked out as being a viable system. So we kind of learned that maybe, what is it called? Nation building isn't good. And it's something that Russia should know, because they went to Afghanistan and they had a war and they didn't do very good. And it's something we should have learned from Russia, which Russia is now learning from Ukraine. Like, when you have a lot of people, it's hard to make a lot of headway. I
think you're assuming that they actually wanted to build a nation there. I don't think we wanted to build a nation there, or they wanted to build a nation there. I think the people who are in charge saw an extraordinary amount of possible wealth to come from it. So I think the thing they pitched to us is, we're going to rebuild this nation in the image of democracy, so that there's another democracy besides Israel in the region, and all this garbage.
But they threw no infrastructure at it.
Infrastructure. They didn't the military guys that I've talked to. The military guys I've talked to said, we were over there doing nothing. You would give a whole village some weapons to defend themselves. If you come back 2 weeks later, the Taliban has the freaking weapons, because they just gave them, or the person you gave guns to murdered half the village to take their stuff.
Or here's a bunch of money. Here's some cash.
Exactly.
Take this money.
So I think assuming I don't think the goal was ever nation building. I think that's what they told us to appease us. And the attacks came from these countries. The 9/11 attacks came from these countries. So we have to go over there and redo their systems so that they're more like us and they won't want to attack us anymore.
Or they had weapons of mass destruction.
Or they had weapons of mass destruction. Which they were ready to come murder everybody. Which they didn't. So it's wild. But it's never about that. Eisenhower warned. Was it Eisenhower that warned about the military industrial complex?
I think it was. Was Eisenhower? I have been mulling this over for a while. When FDR died in office in 1944, right?
Yeah.
Who was his vice president? Was it Eisenhower, or I thought he was a general?
I thought it was Eisenhower
at the time.
It could be wrong.
Who was right after FDR? Who took over? I've been trying to figure that out for 2 straight weeks, because it came up in conversation. I was like, I fucking don't know.
Google did.
Truman.
Is it Truman?
Who was awful. Who was awful
that was
as well.
Now, did Truman get reelected?
No.
No, I was thinking.
No, he served. Let's see. Oh no, good Lord, he was reelected.
Yeah.
I
was thinking of Hoover and not Truman.
Yeah, Hoover was before.
Yeah, Hoover was pre.
Hoover was in the 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely pre. He was pre FDR.
The Great Depression.
Yeah. Let them eat cake.
Sorry,
I mean
tangent,
dust bowl.
So Prisoner's Dilemma type stuff. The idea of nuclear proliferation, or whatever it is you want. All it takes is one person. Nuclear. Apparently, that is actually a pronunciation, which I wonder if they did that because of W.
They had to have done that because of W, because that doofus said it repeatedly.
I will say that what is it? Oh fuck! It's a word he said that sounds stupid, but it actually is a word. It's not strategize. I'll think of it later. Anyway. Strategery. Strategery is a word.
Yeah.
Sounds stupid.
No, it's a thing.
Maybe they made it up. Yeah, maybe it's a thing.
Maybe they put it in the dictionary because of him.
But he said it, and everyone's like,
really? There are a couple of new words that are in the dictionary now because some of our politicians said them in the last year or so. So, I mean, that still happens.
Changing the dictionary repeatedly is really infuriating.
Well, I mean, I love Newspeak.
It always has been.
Don't you?
It always has been.
You what?
I said I love Newspeak, don't you?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Can't let it go. Okay. Right. What the fuck was I saying? So, all it takes is one asshole. And because there potentially is one asshole in the group, you have to have certain laws and shit. Someone is calling me. Mom is calling me. Weird. Okay, not my mom. It's someone who's just called themselves mom. Sorry. I had a whole thing. You guys didn't hear any of it. Okay, so
that's because we were zoning off of like we know, like he knows, I know that he knows.
I was in a poli-sci class, and that's where I was introduced to all that stuff, and everyone in the class, I was about 28 years old, and everyone was about 18, 19, because it was like a 200, 300 level class, and in the end, we voted for the prisoner's dilemma, and who said get rid of all your weapons, who didn't. Everyone in the class agreed get rid of all your nuclear weapons except for 2 people, me
you
and the teacher.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Ukraine.
And so Soviet Russia, US, or vice versa, and they were fucking pissed, okay, because they were like, why did you do that? And I looked at him and I was like, because I knew you wouldn't. That's the thing. It takes one asshole. So you have to have this mentality of realism. Yes, we can all agree on something. We can agree on utopia, but utopia is something, it's not necessarily to be achieved.
It's never
right?
to be achieved.
It's a goal.
It's
It's a direction. So continue.
That's why they killed Kennedy.
It absolutely should not be a goal, because people do horrible things in the name of getting to that utopia. Look, there is no utopia. Humans are naturally flawed. We do terrible things to each other on a daily basis. Yes, we do tons of good things, and most people are trying to live their life well, I think. But we do horrible things to each other without even realizing it half the time. So, like, the idea of striving for some utopia is crazy and leads to people doing the most horrific things that have ever been performed throughout history. It is not.
Let's say I agree with you.
Okay.
Let's say I agree with you. Okay.
Okay.
So what is an alternative?
Living
I'm not
your
asking
life,
for the solution, but
individualism, living your life the way you want to, without hurting other people. Like, there is no utopia. You're always going to hurt other people. Trying not to is the key. There is no utopia. There's always going to be pain. There's always going to be suffering. There's always going to be some tyrant that rises up and inspires a bunch of people to follow them. But it doesn't change the fact that utopia is unachievable and those people are selfish, narcissistic pricks. Like,
so
bad
maybe
things
what
are going
you're
to happen no matter what. Yeah.
So would I be on the mark to say that something along the lines, to paraphrase what you're saying, you're wrong. No, I'm kidding. To say something like, there's always more homework.
Yeah, I don't agree with homework, but yeah.
See, I mean, as
there's always more struggle.
I get it. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, always.
I mean,
Okay.
the progressive in me, and I know that this is gonna hurt, but I'm a big fan of
Who?
inclusivity.
Which one?
I like inclusivity versus exclusivity, and building up the ground around me, so that we can play and have a stake. And I think having a stake in the game. This is why people in Montana are friends, because they have a coin in the game. So, like, the point of bringing our culture and our society up, educating people and giving them opportunity, to me is it makes it so everybody has the ability to have this philosophical conversation, to become better, to know what is good and what isn't good and why, and to me, it's like, I think education is an answer when it comes to figuring out these solutions. So it's being inclusive, and it's allowing people to prosper that don't, because we can't do it by ourselves. We can't make a film by ourselves. We can't we can't survive by ourselves. Maybe in the woods if you know what you're doing, but you didn't know what you were doing. You had to be taught. You had to get to the point where you could survive as an individual. There is a knowledge.
How are you two disagreeing?
Let's see.
I mean, I can figure out maybe how you guys would argue on these points, but I can also see how you guys would be completely in agreement. So how do you two disagree?
I'm not sure. I don't know, because I don't think you've gotten to this point yet.
Yeah, Ken, how do you disagree with him?
I think maybe where we disagree is I want people to have the option to be exclusive. I want exclusivity if you want that.
Well, that sounds like a disagreement.
No, I think it's fair.
Die is cast.
No, I think exclusivity is absolutely fair. I think the way society functions is inclusivity. We have to agree on something for it to work. So people are going to be exclusive. I am exclusive as fuck, personally, but I pay taxes, and I wish more of my taxes went to infrastructure and went to building.
You have to. You have to.
Well, I mean, I could just not work.
You pay taxes because you have to pay taxes. If you did not have to pay them, you wouldn't pay them.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, but I want to pay something because I know that it
you do. Okay.
I know that it benefits the people that don't have anything. And like I said earlier, there are 1,100 children that are homeless in my town. They didn't have a choice. They need more than what I'm giving. If anything, I feel like some of us who are super exclusive could probably chop a fair portion. And that there needs to be a
this
ramp.
is the libertarian versus non. This has to do with taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. It took me a minute to get there. I understand. Could you guys really quick, for anyone for posterity's sake, in general, Jake, how do you understand libertarianism or your brand of it? And then Ken, could you tell me Kentucky progressivism?
Well, it's not
your
just
brand
Kentucky,
of that,
it's national.
or whatever it is. I'm going to give you both. I'm going to give you a time limit. I'm going to give you 2 minutes apiece.
Are we going to mute each other?
Whatever you want.
Do you think we can?
Just to explain.
So funny.
Yeah, indeed. To explain.
Okay. So the way I see things is actually pretty simple. One of the slogans for the Libertarian Party is "Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff," and no one should be forced to do something at the barrel of a gun. You are yours, and no one has the right to your labor or your body. You are your own person, and so that includes taxes. That includes what else does that include? Your land, what you purchase, what you use your labor to earn, all of the income that you earn. It means that you don't have a right to somebody else's labor. So I don't believe in universal health care because you don't have a right to force somebody else to work for you for a certain set price. You have the right to ask that person to work for you, but they should never be forced to work for you because that is their choice, their labor, their life. And so as libertarian, I'm an anarchist. Okay. I believe in no rules whatsoever. I am not under the impression that the world can be anarchist because I know how I function and I can function as an anarchist because I take full responsibility for myself and my actions. But not everybody does that. I would like to live in a small anarchist society, which is what I'm building up here in Montana. So rather than preaching anarchism, I preach libertarianism, because it's heading that direction where it's the individual that matters. And
20 seconds.
Everybody is vastly different, wants different things, has different skills, and individualism brings out the best in each individual person. Yeah, that's it.
Well done. Rebuttal.
Well, I mean, I think that your individualism sounds a lot like atheism to me, and I'm an atheist. I'm perfectly fine with that. You treat others well, but you know, the progressive in me knows that some people get a fair shake in life and other people don't. The reason why healthcare is important is because if it, for like the ACA, for instance, is because like people who would not get healthcare would be going to the emergency room, and it would cost a lot more than preventative medicine. It would cost a lot more to go through these crazy procedures where like a little prevention, a little education, a little knowledge would allow for better eating habits, would allow for more energy, would allow, you know, even getting food to people who were hungry, or you know, with like school lunches and stuff like that. These homeless kids I was talking about, that's their only meal of the day, is when they go to school. So it's like feeding their mind and feeding their body, and without these things, these people would be lost, and they would be never given the opportunity to become an individual, because you're trapped in a mindset. You're trapped in a mindset of like jealousy, or you go into drugs. You know, you're a 5-year-old, 10-year-old kid dealing drugs, and then
20 seconds.
and then you get murdered down the street from my house because of some beef, and that's not fair. It's just not fair. And what do we do? We as a society will survive. We'll do better if things are more fair. And how do we do that?
6 seconds.
We do it with a community effort.
You done it. All right. So
I agree with everything. I agree with so many things you just said.
Yeah.
Like so many things. The issue that I have is I want all of that done on a voluntary basis, not being forced to by a man with a gun and a badge who will throw me in jail for not paying my 35% taxes, that most of it goes to the military industrial complex. Like, that's the issue. And I think I'm very well read on like 3 subjects. Okay. I know a lot about 3 subjects. One is the Federal Reserve, one is Bitcoin, and one is like all of sports. Okay. Those are my 3 big things. Central banking destroys societies, destroys culture, destroys any integrity in your economic future. Life is economics. Life is, how much of my time do I have to spend in order to survive? How much effort do I have to put forth in order to live live a good life, or just survive? Okay. And so when you take something like money, which the Federal Reserve does, and obliterate it and privatize it and make it yours and operate under very shady circumstances, you create a scenario where it's called Keynesian economics. It's called Keynesian economics compared to Austrian.
20 seconds.
Keynesian economics forces you to spend, which makes every time you get money, you are forced to spend it because it's not going to be worth as much tomorrow as it is today. Okay. And that in and of itself, that one thing makes you not look towards the future, only look towards the immediate present. And that is a horrible way to live life, is just living second to second. And it brings down cultures, brings down society.
Rebuttal!
Violence and
2 minutes.
Worthless. Yeah.
I agree with you about money. Like, you put money in your bank account and it becomes more worthless. How do you get that back? Well, I mean, because of the military industrial complex, because of the very thing that keeps America in power, that keeps the people against this country. I'm not in support of, because I do think that there are a lot of ways that we can build our infrastructure, and it is by less military spending and smarter military accountability is a word that I would use, with some real which we as a country, we don't have a lot of accountability. I don't see accountability in Bitcoin. I should have bought freaking Bitcoin in 2006 when I learned about it, but I didn't. I mean, and that's not here nor there. And the way I see Bitcoin is it actually makes the dollar weaker. So it is a form of rebellion against America. I don't have a strong stance on it beyond that, because I'm not read enough on to really understand it. But no one will volunteer, and that is kind of where I stand. Like, people need incentives to do things. That's why things cost money. That's where we got trade from. That's where we at some point decided that society needs a central point to hover around, where like some people make decisions and we have to pay those people to pay other people to do the actual work, hence infrastructure. So I mean, I don't think that the volunteer scenario is, because like there's no incentive. And
time's up. Interesting. When we're given 2 minutes apiece, you guys actually are very well spoken. Okay, so having listened, so we're just doing a debate. Having listened, although we don't have an actual question really, it's just explain your stance is really the question. Having listened to each other now, what do you each think? Like, how would you converse with the other person on the topic?
I'll let him.
You both heard each other's. What have you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you some time to actually converse, and you can go back and forth. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
I'll let him rebut to what I'm gonna say. It's like I live as an atheist. I live the way you talk, because I'm privileged enough to have the ability to create my own world, and I could volunteer more, and I don't. I mean, I have volunteered in the past when I make those choices, so I don't feel like I do enough and participate enough. I definitely was more involved with politics, and I've taken a step back, because you gotta have that exclusivity. You gotta have that personal space, and that takes a lot of effort to participate. Part of the reason I do a Geeky Gamer podcast instead of a political show is I enjoy the headspace, and this is really hard to talk politics. I wasn't.
This is between both of you. I'm giving you both 5 minutes.
Go ahead,
Jake.
No, I think you're completely right about incentives. Incentives are everything. Like, if people aren't incentivized to do something, they're not going to do it. Like this is how communities are formed. It's how communities work. Like, if you live in a small, tight-knit community, you are incentivized not to steal from somebody within that community. Otherwise, you'll be ostracized and you will lose all the benefits of living within that community. So, yeah, incentives are everything. When I say volunteer, I don't mean necessarily volunteer at like the homeless shelter. I'm talking like everything needs to be voluntary rather than you being forced to do something. Because once you are forced to do something by somebody in a position of perceived authority, you are no longer free. You're not a free human. And we are born to be free. Like that, we are born a unique individual that is on this earth and has very specific skills, will learn specific skills, has a very unique upbringing. Everybody grows up in completely different ways. And if we were all allowed to be our individual selves and be exactly who we're supposed to be, life would be a lot easier for a lot of people. And I think, I honestly, like, I know I bring it back to this every time, but like the economics is the basis of civilization. You trading with me is like, and us trading labor for goods is the like basis of civilization. And debasing the currency with which you and I transact is the massive problem of our time that goes completely overlooked. And you said you don't see accountability with Bitcoin. I see tens of thousands of people holding Bitcoin accountable. And I also do not see it. It was an interesting point. It was an interesting thought you made. You had about, you see Bitcoin operating against the dollar. Can you talk about that for?
Oh, well, I think Bitcoin can be used on the dark web or something. You know, I mean, I realize that with Bitcoin that there is a receipt between every transaction that you can follow the money. But I think there's a lot of stuff where transactions, and who's going to do that? Who's going to follow the money? Is there a government entity? Is there like a special task force that is actually going to say people, you know, who are getting human trafficked or bringing, you know, amphetamines into the country? I say amphetamines, right. Or opioids or fentanyl or something like that. You know, it is peer-to-peer commerce that isn't necessarily taxed or trafficked. And the reason that you know you can you tax Bitcoin? I mean, I guess that goes against what it fundamentally stands for. So you make this amount of money and this more amount of money, and because you don't have to volunteer, you know, it doesn't go into your community. Well,
you also can't tax cash. People have been doing drug deals with cash for centuries, and so like, yeah. We've been building like
airplanes that shoot hundreds of thousands of people in other countries that aren't taxed. So, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
So, really quick.
Yeah.
Jake, you have 2 minutes. Ken, you have 3. You have 2 and 40 seconds.
Oh, my God.
Go ahead, Jake.
This is so hard.
Yeah, I think, look, one thing I said earlier was that people are always going to do bad things to other people, and people are always going to do bad things in general. There's no way around it. And Bitcoin, it enables people to do illicit things on the dark web, or even like peer-to-peer. Like you can do that. I can exchange Bitcoin with you face to face with just a card. And so, like, it doesn't protect against that, but it does where there is a problem or where there is something to be gained, incentives are created. And so let's take human trafficking, because that's a huge problem in Atlanta. Atlanta is the worst city in the US for human trafficking. If we operated in a world that ran on Bitcoin and there was a massive human trafficking problem, there would be an incentive for somebody to start an agency, an investigative agency that tracks down Bitcoin wallets figures out who owns those wallets and figure out where those people are. In the same way the government does it, somebody would see, oh, there's either good or a profit to be made doing this. Let me figure out how to do it and implement it in a way that will help people and at the same time help me. That mutual transaction, whether, it can be monetary, there are tons of people who will do things just out of the goodness of their heart, but if I earn money from my hard work and I'm able to feed my family because of it, that's a pretty good incentive to, if I have the skills to do so, track down people through Bitcoin exchanges and Bitcoin transactions and all that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily think, I 100% do not think you need the government in order to do that. I think that would be a natural thing that would occur after a given time.
10 seconds.
And so, yeah, Bitcoin, you can technically tax Bitcoin. You just can't. The only way to get it from somebody is for them to voluntarily send it to you. And so you can still do the barrel of a gun situation, but they can't just take it out of your bank account.
Rebuttal.
No, we can't be policed. We just can't. This is progressive saying that humans do what we're going to do.
Yes.
So to me, it's not about trying to stop crime. It'd be nice if that was a thing, but crime's going to happen. It's about taking the world and trying to get people to change their attitude and not have to resort to crime, or at least to be to know a little bit about what is right and what is wrong, to get to the point where you are, where you have a morality. Because I think a lot of people don't. They don't have that education. They don't I don't think it's religion. I think it's actually more along the lines of civil and social engagement with people and having people communicate and come together. Because exclusively when we are alone, we look at our neighbor and we judge them. We're either jealous of them or judge them to being not good enough. There's any number of things that we run into. Do we come to their aid when they, lock themselves out or of their house, or do, what is it that keeps us as a society, that keeps us together, that keeps us moving forward? And I think it's because we can't be policed. It is our general, like when we had 3 TV stations in the 80s, we had a conversation playing field. So I think what we need is a ground. How do we find that ground? We find it through communication, discussion, education, infrastructure. And infrastructure comes from teachers and roads and power, and as sad enough as it is to say, the internet, all things that we would not have without taxes and a government.
That's incorrect. There were roads long before there were governments. There was power long before there was government. And all those things succeeded long before.
Now hold on a second, fellas. Jake, you have 2 minutes. Go.
Yeah, see, I agree we agree on so many things, Ken. Like, I like the world that you're talking about, minus the taxes, minus the being forced to pay for things that I don't want to pay for.
Okay,
I don't want to.
How can you go into how do you do that? Can you manifest, like, what are the steps that you take? How do you convince people to do that in a libertarian world?
Yeah. This is one of the biggest debates within the Libertarian Party, and it drives me crazy. It makes everybody like rage quit the party and then come back like 6 weeks later. Like, everybody gets furious all the time because there are like 3 topics that libertarians are just super like split down the middle on. Look, I don't believe in democracy on a large scale. I believe in democracy on a very small scale. 30 people, maybe fewer, and only if it's voluntary, only if you're there, like if you can leave. And so the whole intent of the Libertarian Party is to enact change, like what we were talking about earlier, on a very local level. So if you can reach out and touch the person, like actually physically touch the person who is deciding what gets in your immediate town, those are the positions that we want libertarians running for. We want you to run for city council in your local and try to ease government restrictions, ease government regulations, repeal things that are hampering people. We talked about incentives earlier. I think one of the biggest incentives that's happened in the last 30 years is welfare programs and programs that give money to people for not having a job. I think one of the things that happened is, I think this was it Biden who enacted this actually back in the day, or who helped enact it or write the policy, was basically if you are a mother who has a child and the dad isn't around, you get an extra tax incentive. And so then what happened? Oh, well, all of these children started growing up with no dads because it was incentivized for those dads to not be there so that the family would get more money. And so incentives are massive. Incentives are everything. Like you're not incentivized to, I'm not incentivized to build anything out here.
10 seconds.
I'm not going to get anywhere near what I wanted to say. That's okay.
That's okay. You'll get to rebuttal.
Are we? I only have I do have to be up at 6 tomorrow morning.
Let's go. Ken, you got 2 minutes, and then we're coming back to him.
I think it's dangerous to talk about welfare in a negative light because of the infrastructure of this country, or not the infrastructure, but because of the social classes of the country. I think that welfare is definitely unmonitored, has problems. But I also think that it is impossible to live in our society without income. Like you'll be homeless. And I said this early on, once you're in your car, like you're in your car, that's it. You can't take a shower, you can't do the minimum daily to be presentable in a society. So there has to be a minimum of what allows a person to participate, because if they're not allowed to participate, people get disenfranchised and they start doing things that are against what the society needs to happen. They don't learn things. They don't
20
become
seconds.
Societies. So real quick, regulations. I live in Kentucky, so people die because coal companies didn't clean up their shit. You know, they did these slurry things. There's a lot of regulations where people fucking die, and you know, that is dangerous. Just dangerous way to live.
Kind of fun. It's kind of fun. All right, Jake, rebuttal. You get 2 minutes. Then I'm going to read a quote, and then we're going to give you the last word.
Yeah, we got it. We definitely got to wrap it up.
We're going to give you the 2 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll read a quote, and then you'll have the last word, okay? So go ahead, do it.
My rebuttal is this. It is, I want you to live in a world that you want to live in. And I want you to allow me to live in a world that I want to live in. I want to have the choice to live up here in the mountains on a road that is not maintained by the government, because it's not, on a property that does not get electricity from the government, which it doesn't get any utilities from the government. And I don't want to have to pay property taxes on property I already own. I don't want to have to, I want to be able to live the life that I choose to live with the community that I choose to live with whom I choose to live. And I want you to be able to do the same. I have no interest in turning everybody into an anarchist. I have no interest in turning everybody into a libertarian. My interest is in for libertarians to be able to say, hey, here is the place to be a libertarian, so come be a libertarian here. If you would like to live in a town where you do pay taxes and you live exactly how you were just talking about, I want that for you. I want you to be happy and succeed, and I want the people around you to be happy and succeed. What I value the most is individuality for myself and the people around me, and ultimate freedom to do what I would like to do as long as I'm not hurting somebody else or taking or hurting their stuff. And I feel like in today's United States, I am unable to do that without being threatened to be put in a jail cell for not paying taxes to a government that has killed more people than almost any other government in history.
20 seconds.
I'm done.
Well, I
are
think,
you ready for the shit? Go on.
I think that, I'd have to fact check some of the things, but we live in a very violent country that is we spend a lot of money on the military.
You got 2 minutes.
It's disgusting. I mean, I don't want to use all 2 minutes. It is disgusting. It is not. If we didn't go to war in Afghanistan, and I'm sure that we'll agree on this, if we didn't go to a war in Afghanistan, this is where we'll disagree. We could have spent a lot of freaking money on our own country, and it would have been. It would have changed the way we are. We would be in a competition with production with China, or maybe we would all be on welfare. I mean, who's to say? Who is to say?
But who's to say?
It's fun to speculate. And I do believe strongly in regulation because it's a safety thing. But I live in a state where more people die because of deregulation than a lot of other states, just because of an enormous amount of things that I cannot even mention in 2 minutes. So it's a problem.
1 minute.
But I really don't want to. I don't want to go into it.
This is your minute, motherfucker. Go.
I'm gonna say that I very much enjoy my time as an ability as a creator, and I embrace it, and I love being in a society for the most part where I trust the people around me, and I hope that can continue. I live in a city. I felt that way when I lived in Los Angeles. I feel that way here in Kentucky. I felt that I lived around people that I can trust in Thailand and all the other places that I've been to. For the most part, I think people are good. And I think they'd be better if they were not fucking idiots.
All right. Here's a high-minded quote that you guys will probably dig. It's going to blow up your brain if it hasn't already. And if it has blown up your brain, it will blow it up again. Are you ready? Every revolution was first a thought in one man's mind. Now, this is written a while ago, so when it says man, it means person. Every revolution was first a thought in one man's mind. And when the same thought occurs to another man, it is the key to that era. Every reform was once a private opinion, and when it shall be a private opinion again, it will solve the problem of the age. The fact narrated must correspond to something in me to be credible or intelligible. Let me read that again. The fact narrated must correspond to something in me to be credible or intelligible. We, as we read, must become Greeks, Romans, Turks, priest and king, martyr and executioner, must fasten these images to some reality in our secret experience, or or we shall learn nothing rightly. What befell Asdrubal or Caesar Borgia is as much an illustration of the mind's powers and deprivations as what has befallen us. Each new law and political movement has meaning for you. Stand before each of its tablets and say, under this mask did my Proteus nature hide itself. This remedies the defect of our too great nearness to ourselves. This throws our actions into perspective. Now, what the fuck is that? That, dear you two, is motherfucking Ralph Waldo Emerson. I just downloaded it on my Kindle. That's page like 2.
Yeah, he's a writer.
Every fucking line.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I educated?
Yeah.
And I have never read this.
Life Before TV.
And check this shit out.
Yeah.
Under this mask did my Proteus nature hide itself? I looked that up. Proteus is a god that could change his shape. And anytime the other gods would ask him a question, instead of answering, he would hide himself by changing shape. So what he's saying is, under this mask did my Proteus nature hide itself. He's saying this other opinion, how is it actually me? How is that other person actually saying what I would say in their situation? And if I can put myself in their shoes, then I can actually gain understanding. Every revolution was first a thought in one person's mind, and when the same thought occurs in another person's mind, it's the key. Every reform was once a private opinion, and when that is again in everyone's mind, it solves everything. What the fuck? Go read Emerson and tell me what you think. Okay, dude, I read 4 pages and I was like, I'm gonna put this down for a minute.
Yeah.
Jake, thank you so much for being here. You get the last thoughts. Last thoughts, an aphorism, a joke, a riddle, a salutation, a fuck you. It's whatever you want. It's on you.
I'm horrible at telling jokes, so I'm not going to do a joke. I really appreciate having the conversation with you, Ken. That was awesome. It's everybody gets stuck in their little echo chambers. Everybody does to one degree or another. And so I tend to, not all the time, but tend to be in groups of people who think somewhat like me, if not completely. And so it's nice to have a civil conversation where I feel heard, and I hope that you felt heard as well, and that everything went smoothly. And Bill, Will, whatever you want me to call you. Fantastic debate moderator, man.
You know, I got an iPhone. It's got this lap thing.
But I had an absolutely fantastic time on this show, and
man.
I'm not a huge gamer, but I'm absolutely interested in being involved in whatever y'all do, whatever y'all invited me to earlier. What was it? Dread Lore?
Dread Lore, Lore. I will ping you and
Sweet.
send you stuff. And if you're interested, we'll set up a date and you jump in a game. It'll be awesome.
Awesome. That sounds great. And for anybody out there who's interested in my stuff, I've got a documentary on Amazon called Divide and Dominate. And I've got one on Vimeo that used to be on Amazon, but then they banned it for some reason. About a music producer who travels to different places and makes music with people who have been affected by some pretty terrible stuff. So we went to Lebanon for the first movie, and he found Syrian refugees who had extreme musical talent and made an album with them, and it was unbelievable. And Amazon booted it with no warning. Didn't tell me why.
So if you have the links, post it in our little chat, and we can.
Yeah, everything's on my website. So peacefulsea.network is
SEA.
to go. SEA, like an ocean.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
You gonna read us out?
You know what? Why not? Why not?
Do it.
I guess so. I guess I'll reopen.
You, I mean, I can just do it if you want.
No. I've got it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I know it by heart, basically.
I mean, you didn't mention Trois or Couchfire the last time, by the way.
Listen, Couchfire Media, turns out thank you, Couchfire Media. That's www.couchfiremedia.com. If you need something edited, if you need some beautifuls, go to couchfiremedia.com with the W's. You better. They are in charge of all of the goodness of this. Thank you to all lowercase letters for our sexy soundtrack, as well as some Mr. Interrupt. Thanks to the Patreon peoples, the nostalgic Natalia Cline, as well as Tim Roberts and Daniel Hulker. Potentially a libertarian. Potentially.
Daniel Hulker.
If you want to join the old Patreon, guess what? Go there. Patreon.com/ what's our deal again? Oh yeah, Dreadlore. That's the one we're using. It would help us out a ton because we're going to have tons of these and all that good stuff. Subscribe. Just do it. Just go ahead. Just do it. You know you like us. Go ahead and subscribe. We love you too. There's a thing called Trois Replay. We don't really know what they do. We want to have a huge thank you to Mr. Ken Howl, as well as our guest, Jake Green. Thank you very much. We'll be back Thursday, right exactly on the dot of 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And Mondays at 7.
Mondays at 7, if you want to hear some gaming.
Yep. Bye.
Lord.